There we go. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry about that. I had to get on as a panelist so I could talk.
Yeah. All
How are
right,
we
it
doing
is
today?
great. 8:16 a.m. and we are here for a legislative update with Zach Kennedy.
Well, glad to be on. I heard that we wanted to talk a little bit about 1592, so we can start there or we can do that at the end. I want to make sure we've got plenty of time to address your questions on that one.
Let's start there. We have the prosecuting attorney in the room right now.
All right. Well, what can I answer on this bill? What are we looking at? What do we got?
So a lot of my colleagues are worried about the non-supplant language in the bill. I'll kind of leave that to them. My biggest concern is the takeover for smaller counties. Um, the takeover, the having OPD take over public defense, which counties would be very, very tempted to do because it would transfer all the liability for public defense to the state. So it makes a lot of sense for them to do that financially. But then the OPD and the bar get to set the standards for public defense. So how many cases an attorney can take on, et cetera. That's what they're trying to do through the state Supreme Court. You know, we're all waited on bated breath to see what the state Supreme Court does. But the effect of that could be that we can't prosecute very many cases. It would be a big, huge cut in our cases. WSBA does not have to follow the APA Administrative Procedures Act or anything like that. And so the OPD takes over public defense could very well end up shutting down a good portion of our justice system. And so I have extreme concerns that you let the OPD and the bar set public defense standards. Because they've shown they're more than willing to set them up to be basically destructive to the whole system. And so I have a real concern about that particular portion of the bill.
I think that's a good point. Additionally, a question on it. It sounds like the county would have to petition on a case-by-case basis the OPD to take over the actual case. What I didn't see was any specific timeline on when they had to accept and what their criteria were for accepting the case. Seemed pretty arbitrary to me. Did you read that into it as well or no?
Oh, absolutely. So basically, the Office of Public Defense, it's basically completely in their discretion. And so, you know, again, it makes a lot of sense from a financial standpoint for a county to do this. I can understand why a county would want to petition because then they don't get sued by the ACLU. Um, and yeah, there's no standards. Basically, if and there's nothing controlling it once, let's say the county thinks it's a good idea, and then there's no standards later on. We're having trouble getting attorneys everywhere in the state, and there's absolutely no standard for the degree of service the OPD has to provide. And
Yeah.
so I think that language is extremely problematic.
Okay. Yeah, I think that that makes a lot of sense. Additionally, I was looking at it and it looks like when the state takes over, the county would still be responsible for their 50% portion of the public defense. Would that, I think I saw that. Does that cause any issues?
Not really, because the counties are paying that money either way.
Yeah, you're paying, right. Well, right now you're paying 96% ish. So, I mean,
Yeah. So I don't think the county pays more money either way. At least that's the way I read the bill. So the money factor would be the same. The issue would be why the county would want to do that is the liability factor. You know,
mhm.
it makes a lot more sense to not have people suing you over inadequate public defense when you can just hand it off to the state. So in the end, it's actually a lot cheaper for the counties to probably hand it off to the state, even if they have to pay still have to pay their 50%.
Got it. Do you know where the Prosecutors Association and Waco are on this one? If you don't, I can ask them. That's no problem.
I don't know where Waco is. I know the Prosecutors Association is Problem is the legislative committee on the Prosecutors Association, except for me, is composed of bigger counties whom this doesn't concern.
And they
And
don't
so
care.
they're
Yeah.
so they're much more concerned about the non-supplant language.
Got it. Okay. Um, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll poke around a little bit. I mean, I don't know that we're going to get too much help from them, just like you said, because of the counties that it recognizes. I mean, it looks like frontier counties only pretty much.
It's
Um,
over half the counties, but they're all the smaller counties.
yeah, exactly. All the smaller ones. I'll see if they have any concerns that line up with yours, and it may be something where, we need to put in some comments or talk with the sponsors here. I mean, I see what they're going for, and this is one of those, well-intentioned,
Yeah.
but maybe they missed the mark a little bit. I see that Representative Rude is on there as well. He'd be a good one to talk to. Taylor also. Yeah, I mean, so we've got some certainly have some avenues here to address. Do you have a rough draft, even a couple of paragraphs of your policy concerns on this that I could share with them?
No, but I can write it up real quick. What's your email?
It's Zach, just ZAK, at potsassociates.com.
EOTS,
POTTS.
EOTTS,
Yep.
Associates.
All one word.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you shoot that over to me, what I'll do is I'll dress it up a little bit and then get it in front of the legislators and make sure that they understand and maybe even talk with the policy staff because I think this is kind of an oversight that should be at least easy to discuss. I don't know how easy it is to fix.
Yeah.
It really depends on their intent. I don't think that they intended to do that, but I never know.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. No problem at all. Um, okay, so we'll get on that one. Outside of that, did you guys have any questions about any of the bills that I put on the list for this week that you saw on there? Otherwise, I can give you kind of a rundown on a few of them just so you kind of have a rough idea of where we're going with it.
I didn't have any questions on it.
Okay. Um, I think what we're seeing right now, and we still have a little bit to shake out with respect to the relationship between really specifically the House Democrats and the governor. They kicked him out, or his staff. They can't kick him out of their chambers, but they did kick his staff out. They're pretty unhappy with the governor telling the legislature, like, you guys got to cut before I'm going to approve any new taxes. That was not in the plan. So they're still working that relationship out. And then the House Democrats just doubled down by kicking him out of their chambers. So not real sure how that's going to work, but I can tell you what we are seeing is a lot of communication out of the governor's office, which is positive because we've had, a full Inslee term of no communication. So, we're at least heading back towards Gregoire days. That said, I think that the governor is extremely cognizant of what's going on at the federal level. We've had, even in your county, been working with some of the potential loss of funds from the Fed cutting off grant dollars. I don't think that at the county level we're going to see long-term effects from that. I think that they've got a couple targets in mind and they'll narrow it down here. Um, so we'll work on that. With the other one that I was looking at here for you guys, and you're not buying a lot of forest land. 1695 is kind of an interesting bill. That's from Representative Engel. He's new, but this is a pretty neat little bill. It's talking about villages and unincorporated areas like outside of their growth management plan. So this would apply, I think, to most every county. And it's talking about population density. If you've got a cluster of houses or homes or whatever that's unplanned, and maybe it's in an R20 zoned area, this bill would allow them to kind of continue that cluster of homes, add another one on. So what's 13 when there's already 12? The one question that's been brought up on this one is, okay, at what point do you force the cluster of homes to incorporate or, do something with respect to planning? How far does that go? So they'll kind of flush that one out as well. Um, the 1529 is an interesting one. That's increasing opportunities for cities to utilize county resources for road construction and maintenance. Really comes straight out of an issue, I think, in Mason County, where the county bought a road striper and the city wanted to use it. I don't know if this will ever apply to you guys, but it would certainly allow for some sharing, the county to sell, provide services, whatever to the cities. It just kind of raises some of the limits and percentages of work that you guys can do. Really interesting one on 5490. The big concern about this one, this is parameters for conducting searches of transgender and intersex individuals in the court in the jails. Really written for the cities and the larger jails, but it could become a little bit expensive for you guys. Without getting into the politics of transgender or anything, if someone was in your jail, this could add a significant amount of cost to finding the right person to do searches. I think that was an unintended consequence. I know there's conversations coming, but keep an eye on that one. Just because House Bill 1630, I don't know that's concerning livestock methane emissions. I don't know if this is a joke or not. We, or if they're trying to prove a point, but this bill would require farmers with animals, cows, horses, sheep, whatever, to literally calculate the amount of methane coming out of their animals and then pay a tax on it, basically. Um, I, it's, I don't even know what to say about it. I mean, obviously, every farmer around is going to be opposed to this bill, and I don't know what they're getting at. So we're going to be watching that one real close because, we just don't want to get something like that on the books here. The firearms bills, right now, I think we keep an eye on these. Of course, by all means, we can sign in and comment, and if we want to. I think a lot of these are specific issues that are already being tested at the federal level. I just saw there was a federal ruling on raising the age limit to 21 for purchasing a firearm. They ruled that unconstitutional. So, I think these challenges are coming down on pretty much all of these bills. The one that I definitely think is interesting here is the 5098, and that's the one where they would require gun-free zones to be extended to your fairgrounds and the parks and anywhere kids may possibly be. It's pretty open-ended and nebulous there. The fiscal note may kill this one. Most of the rural counties that I'm talking to are saying, yeah, we're not putting up signs. Um, it's interesting that and I put it in quotes, win on this bill was the amendment that said concealed carry permit holders are exempt from this particular rule. Um, I think that's probably a little closer to their intent, but I think there's still some constitutionality questions here. But they're pushing these things through. They're just pushing. And everything's coming out on a party line vote out of the committees. And then with the new rule change on the House floor specifically, where they can end discussion on final passage with a majority vote, they could just stop all discussion and pass it out of the House pretty easily. So we definitely need to keep an eye on this. And that rule, I don't know, that could very easily backfire on the majority party. So I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how that's going to go. We haven't seen a lot of floor action since they did that. So stay tuned on that one. And, it might be buy some popcorn and watch the fireworks as the two parties collide. So, with that, that's kind of my update for you guys. Is anybody coming over for the reception tomorrow and the steering committee?
I'll be there tomorrow.
Fantastic. Well, we'll see you tomorrow at the reception. And it's at a new spot, so right on Capitol Way, so pretty easy to find. Terrible for parking, but you could probably park up at Wasack and walk down. It's pretty easy.
Okay.
All right. Well, do you guys have any final questions for me before we move on to the next one and let you guys get going?
Nope, thank you very much, Zach.
Thanks, Zach. See
Thank you.
tomorrow.
All righty. Hey, thank you guys. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later.
Caitlin, is the consent agenda folder down here yet?
She is on her way with it.
Thanks, Barb.
You bet. Good morning, everybody.
Morning. I love how people all of a sudden get concerned after a project's ready to start. Morning, Dave.
Ready? Did you see my response on the West Shore thing?
No.
Put it right on our website, so it's all laid out. There's, you know, you can't make everyone happy. There's people that are upset with it. I get it.
Do you want the whole,
Yeah, take the whole thing.
I have a walk-on item.
Yeah, what is it?
It is a request
Castle's
from
right back there.
Completely
Okay,
Creative
I'll
to
go up
purchase
front
an
then.
advertisement with the State of Washington Tourism. There's two different quotes that are attached with the request. It's just that the deadline to commit to advertisement is this Friday. And so tourism will be reviewing the two quotes at their meeting tomorrow. So, but it would not be over the $11,000 before tax.
$11,000 for a half-page ad. What's it go in?
Washington Tourism, isn't it?
Yeah, State of Washington Tourism Magazine.
Tourism magazine.
Yeah.
There was,
I haven't seen it before. I'm about to start a tourism magazine. I just read it and saw it. I haven't seen the magazine before. That's what the front looks like.
That's the back.
Let's see if I've ever seen it before.
Washington State Visitor Guide.
$11,000 could go. TV advertising or something.
That was a lot of turkey.
And what they do, put a special order in.
They must have. That expensive.
How many?
And then I looked at the date, and it made sense. It was
1,800 turkeys. What's that? That's a lot of families. Caitlin, do you know if all contracts in here were reviewed by the prosecutor's office? The signatures for them all. Sure, since we're kind of skipping the step of having them in our meeting. Then for the ARPA grant, Dave, make sure you request it to get the funding, because I see that you have a
So
resolution.
it was requested already and allocated already, so
Okay,
I think we're all set. So actually, the resolution's coming after.
nice. You're good to go.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely.
I see why you're here, Mr. Dart. I think the county would prefer to not take over any additional bridges at this time. That is the truth.
That is true. We thought we had that one out.
Pretty easy one.
Yeah, they looked, I looked them over last night. Everything looked fine. I was just worried about those $30,000 worth of turkeys.
I can't believe I didn't get offered a bite. Somebody bought $35,000 worth of turkey, didn't even invite us to dinner. What kind of item, just that magazine. $40,000 in advertising for that. Any questions on any of that?
My question is did they increase the magazine that's going out?
There were like 2 magazines in here. There was Scenic Washington, I think,
I saw that one.
and then this one. The answer to that is There's really no way to know other than to trust it. It's not the way I would go, but I'm not running it either.
They have a way of tracking what we're getting. Stuff we're doing.
For those magazines, yeah, that would be my assumption. They need to put like a QR code or something, so that if somebody does pop on, it like pops them in. So it's just like, yeah, we have, 10,000 new visits to our website this month, but they don't do anything like that.
Maybe we should make that suggestion that they
They're
add a QR
hoping
code.
that the app will do that.
I did make that suggestion about 3 years ago. You what?
So I think that they're hoping the app will do that, that they'd have the QR code for the app.
On the ads?
I think so.
I mean, I guess we could request, we would like to see the ad that's going to be placed.
It would be nice if there was a way for us to track that. So if they can add that QR code, they need to do that. And I can't see.
If you have 6 new visits, maybe you don't do it the next time.
Yeah.
But if you have 1,000, 10,000,
It'd just be nice to know whether we're getting our money's worth. Because if we're not, then we should probably change our way of advertising.
makes
Yeah.
sense to me. Well, you guys have anything for us? Agenda was small this week, so not a lot to go over there.
I do want to make a comment on Public Works and the landfill. The last few times I've been out there, you guys are top notch versus what they were a year ago. Just more customer oriented, helpful, more upbeat, and seem like they are good with their job. So it's nice to have that. Whereas before, at times I'd go out there and they just were not very happy. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You got them on a good day.
I mean, unfortunately, they have a bad job, and it smells. It's not a fun job, but customer service is important, and I appreciate it. So I just want to let you know that.
I've noticed the same too. When I go there, I think it's Raul.
Yeah.
Is his name. He is positive, very outgoing, communicates well, and definitely a shout out to him. He's a
Do
good
they know
worker.
who you are when you go there?
No, they do not.
Yeah,
So it's
I
actually
go
really
there.
good because then you get to observe, and I agree with you. It's sometimes just that positive, outgoing attitude is really
Well, they're willing
really
to
good.
help. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
and I like that. I mean, that's what I would expect, but previously it wasn't that way, and so I appreciate that. I just like them to know that.
absolutely.
Was this pre-January 1 or post-January 1?
It was pre. It was this last year. I noticed it
No,
myself.
I'm just
I
kidding.
don't have my name on the side of this truck, so they don't know who I am.
That's right.
You'd be surprised.
No, it's good. I think we need to hit that word.
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely.
So as long as that goes through DART, you're happy?
Yes, sir.
All right. See if we can do that for you. Is there any other items you want to discuss, Kevin?
Dave,
Yes,
on the West Shore Drive,
yes.
I wish I'd remembered to be at that meeting. I got home and got busy and forgot.
It was a very difficult meeting. It did not go well. I think the expectation was that there would be a city representative there as well.
So that leads me to the next question. Is that city, it's not city property from Fairway out to Road 4, correct?
Correct, it is a county project. And so there's some people that have asked questions, and what I did is I put it right on the face of our website, and I'll go over that at the Public Works update.
I was just looking at it, and so I'm like, well, you know, it's right there on our website,
It is,
first of all. Second of all, it started in 2021.
correct,
Why is this becoming an issue at the
Well,
last minute?
because it's happening, and I let them know that in a month, construction is gonna start. And now it's getting very real. So there are some people, I understand, that are very upset. But there's a lot of people that came up to me afterward and made very positive comments. They're excited about having sidewalks. They're gonna have 4 miles of sidewalks to walk on. But there are some people that do not want sidewalks, and I totally get it. I understand. They're used to it being more of a rural agricultural type, but on either side of them, there is sidewalks. To the north of this project, West Shore project, there is sidewalks along the golf course, and then to the south, there is sidewalks. This is the piece right in the middle, and it is an urban collector, urban major collector. So when we received those federal funds, we had to do curb, gutter, and sidewalk because it is defined as an urban collector. And I get it, I know they're upset, but when it's all done, I'm hoping they'll be happier.
It's probably they know that it's gonna grow out there, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's not
Oh,
what
yeah.
anybody wants when you live there, so.
And it was
Once
kind of,
sidewalks are coming in, you pretty much are guaranteed it's growing. I mean, it's not gonna stop at sidewalks down West Shore.
and I understand, I let them know I understood that, but I also was firm and let them know that this project is proceeding. We have a contractor, $3.5 million contract. We also have received funds, and we have signed agreements with the feds and the state on that $3.5 million. We are locked in. We are moving forward, and it has been deemed a public necessity back in 2021. It's happening now.
Well, it's probably even more now.
Yes.
More
And
growth.
I know, and I'm doing my best to answer the questions, but I understand their frustration as well, because they don't want it. And there's others that do, though. I think there's a quiet majority that does, but.
Well, I think once it's done, people just don't like change.
Oh, yes,
That's
exactly.
People don't like change.
So it's kind of my job to kind of do my best to kind of take that on and hear that, and just let them know that what's actually happening, and that what can change. One of the things that we can do, though, it's still within, and I will be coming forward to the board, is the speed limit change, which also the golf course is requesting as well. The HOA has already put in a petition last year for reduction in speed on the north side of this. And then on the south side of West Shore, it's already 25. And historically, back in time, West Shore was 25, many, many years ago, decades ago, actually. So that is a request that we can still accommodate, is the speed change.
One of the other questions some of the people were asking me is, can you make the approaches wider? A lot of those people have trailers.
Yes, and I let our inspectors, we have 2 inspectors that are meeting with people individually and going over it.
Okay.
So there is something called access control, where you're supposed to minimize so that people can't go onto the road everywhere for urban collectors, and that's why we have that in the cities. So, however, there's flexibility, and I let our inspectors know that. I'll work with them, and you have some flexibility here. So they are actually individually meeting with, and it would have to be very unusual for the inspectors not to be able to provide for it. And I think there is one place where there's a private road and there is 3 driveways all in one row. And I just told our inspectors, let's just drop the sidewalk for that entire length. And all there will be is a lip to hold the stormwater. So we're working with people. I know that it's just the nature of what we're doing. We're doing an urban project, and the county normally doesn't do urban projects, right?
Well, I think with that and the speed limit, I think people will be happy. Or they'll get over it.
And when it's all done, it's gonna look really nice. But it's gonna be a mess during construction for 3 months. And you, the board, will receive some of those comments, and I as well. Just direct them to me and also our website, because I wanna get information up there and I'll keep updating it. It's right on the Public Works landing page, first page.
Yeah, I saw that.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Yeah, you responded to that email that we got.
Yep.
I mean, I imagine you covered all of that in your
And
meeting. This is all
I
stuff I
tried.
know, and I barely remember this project.
I tried, but there was there was some angry people at that meeting, and,
What's the base of the anger?
uh, the sidewalks. And also there's some distrust that, they believe the city's gonna annex them and that this is part of that. And from my conversations with everyone at the city, they have no intent to do so anytime soon.
So, which leads me to another remark. When I spoke to the city, they told me, because I was questioning a piece of property further out by where they're gonna put the school.
Yep.
About annexing that, and they said, we can't annex any more property because we're at our 20-year limit. So that's not gonna happen.
Exactly.
So people thinking that they're gonna annex more property, it's not.
It's not gonna
they're
happen.
Maxed out.
In addition, if I was in the city shoes, I would only annex manufacturing and industrial, which they have done in the past, because it's like break even for residential. Really, there's a lot of maintenance associated with it too.
Most
So-
like is an octopus.
It is
That's all that they
stretching
do.
out all
Take
directions.
industrial, come on.
And I tried to allay their fears. I let them know that it's, from what I'm hearing, there is no chance that there's gonna be annexation anytime in the future. I mean, we're talking 20 years out maybe, but they were very worried. And they were also, had about half of that session, that public meeting, they were asking bombarding questions on water and sewer, and I'm not the city, I can't answer those questions. And I tried to allay their fears, just saying all this project's gonna do is provide stub outs. So if ever your septic drain field fails, you don't have to cut up the entire street to be able to hook up.
I was gonna
It's
say,
just
so those
available to
stub
you.
outs are gonna go to the edge of the sidewalk.
Correct, back of the sidewalk, just ready to go, should something happen in the future. And that way, they don't, our beautiful public road, after it's constructed, doesn't get torn up
Right.
all the time and have all these patches in it.
Okay.
And they're really concerned that if those stub outs are there, that they're gonna be required to hook up to them. And I said, no, no.
Will they have the option to hook up to them?
They will, that's the whole idea. It's
Septic
only
drain
optional.
field fails, why not
Correct.
hook up?
It will cost them a lot less to hook up
Now,
because
that's
it's already
gravity.
there for them.
Is that a gravity all the way out?
No, it's a force main. And that's another question that's being asked. And I should not respond to any of the questions of the city, because I'll just get in trouble. And actually, you as well, because they'll contact you.
Right.
The county portion, we can respond to, and I've done that, and I put it on our website, and let them know that. But really, it just comes down to, I think they're really concerned about annexation, and it's just not happening. I mean, it's been 40 years since it went into the UGA, and it hasn't happened. And they're worried that there's some sort of communication between the county and the city to make an annexation happen. No, we don't communicate enough is actually the problem. It's the other way around. We
If you
don't
communicated a lot, they would have been at your meeting.
Yes, exactly. But I understand because they knew the heat that was gonna come, but I bravely went.
But they also could have shown up and maybe minimized that
Yes,
issue.
yes.
I mean, that's my thought.
And really, if you look at the comments that are coming in, that's what their frustration is. They don't know what's happening with the water and sewer and the annexation. And when they're asking me, I'm telling them, well, I shouldn't be responding to anything on the city side. But this is what I know, I tell them.
So who would I talk to at the city to?
Well, I did CC Dustin, and he's aware of the project, and the city council did put aside money to provide for the stub outs of utilities. So The council is knowledgeable, and they have put money aside for it, specifically the sewer, just to get it done. That's another comment. People are worried about having to pay something, and there is no cost to the citizens along there at all for this, including those stub outs. It's only if they want to hook into them in the future, then there'll be costs. But right now, they're just available to them, or will be, because they're not constructed yet.
My thought is gonna be cheaper for them to hook up to that stub out than it would be.
Absolutely.
To put in a whole new septic system.
Absolutely.
If their septic fails.
And for the lots that are empty now, that don't have a house, they'll be ready to go to hook up for their house, which is advantageous.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, we'll go into recess until 9 a.m. and we're back for a public works update. Good morning, it's 9 a.m. and we're here with Public Works for an update with Dave Bren and John Brissy.
John, start with D1 accomplishments.
So this last week, the week of the 27th, road crews, sign shop, landfill, and bridge. There's a little bit of road grading going on in District 1 when they could. Some rock raking, shoulder maintenance out in the sand dunes area last week. I know Sam Castro had asked about us putting some ditches in along through there. That wasn't going to be too big of a problem for us to do. Some culvert cleaning in the districts. They continue to repair that shoulder on Lower Crab Creek from the runoff damage off the hill. Also, bridges continued their January bridge inspections. The weed applicators are doing some mowing on certain roads that during the year get such heavy foliage that they can't penetrate through to get to the ground. So right now seems strange to be mowing this time of the year, but it's a good time that we're not going to cause fires issues and they can get that mowed down. And so when they start their spring spraying, they should be able to do a better job. So there's a handful of those areas that they're trying to get to. The districts are still doing tree trimming throughout the districts, 1 and 3. And still they're working on the H Southeast Bridge. So the bridge crews hauled off the girders from the old one and then worked on the reader boards as well. So that's kind of an update of the accomplishments from last week. That's about it.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple questions. What do you need for the Gorge project? Continuing it in the future.
Oh,
Because last year we didn't do an LTAC request.
yeah.
We keep going, and then we didn't designate any read. It's kind of something I was wondering. It'll come up fast, planning for it, so.
So we identified several projects. So, and a couple of those projects require some PE, some research right of way, maybe even right of way acquisition to be able to accomplish. So it may take some planning to get there. I would say maybe have a workshop where we can identify what project next, because it really should go on our 6-year plan, and then become a CRP, and then figure out the funding as well. So we could schedule a workshop specifically on that.
What projects were we talking about? The roundabout at Sunland,
So
right away to 1 Southwest.
there is a group of projects that we had identified beyond what we just constructed this last year. And actually, it's important for you to be involved in that now. So you're just.
Well, I was in the beginning and
Yep.
then it booted, I guess. I don't know.
And so that,
The signs were something I first talked about, but I think we got those done now. Have those been done?
Oh, that's the last thing that.
We purchased those.
Correct. We purchased them. I don't know if they've come in yet. So there is the reader board signs for the amphitheater. That's the last thing left on the projects from last year. So workshop, amphitheater workshop.
it'd just be nice to kind of set a plan in place to continue to try to get the funding.
And the best way always is to put these projects on the 6-year plan. Have the board.
There's still,
together and put it
that
on there.
area is still the 500,000-600,000 a year contributor just
Oh,
to
yeah.
the LTAC. So
Totally.
I figured designating 80 to 100 a year would seem fair.
All right. I will coordinate with Caitlin on that, set up a workshop. And it's been a while since we did that planning.
Yeah.
We have the new board member, and John, you absolutely need to be involved in it too. So maybe just starting that up again and just go over the projects and what was done previously and look at what projects were identified, because there might be things that we can already do this year. Can do.
I'm assuming you've had discussion with the guys at the gorge on what would help them as well.
They're at the table
They're at the
when we're
table,
planning.
so
Yeah.
they're at the workshop. Okay.
Yeah. It changed the way that they brought cars in last year, and we changed the roads in, but there's still signage and more road changes. And then, like John had said, trying to do an easement or a road through a private property to connect with, it's 1 Southwest?
Yeah.
Across. So,
That would be a game changer.
yeah, there's still just a lot of little things that we need to keep working on to get done in the next 5 or 10 years.
And I know the amphitheater is talking with the city of George, trying with sewer
Yeah.
issues, so I don't know where that's going as well, so hate to develop any farther down 1 Northwest if they're gonna be in the middle of it. But that's something we can discuss in those meetings.
So just a little bit of a recap on the website. West Shore is going to be kicking out this next month, our first construction project for the season, March 10th. A lot of information right on the landing page because there is a lot of comments that are coming in. Marlene had a good email this morning. I've responded to her already. I'll follow up with a phone call. But really just trying to get that information very transparently because I think they're getting information from a lot of different sources. And the best thing to do is just put it up there, good or bad, put it up there and why it's being done that way. So I'm answering those questions around the website. Now, there's a bunch of questions from the city. I will also coordinate with them and ask them to respond to those because frankly, that needs to be done because there's just a lot of, and I'm not really allowed to speak for them, so I will coordinate with them on that. I will follow up.
Do they do something similar on their website that you're doing?
I will ask them to do so.
If we can coordinate with you too.
Awesome. I would love to have a link to the city's responses or the city information because there's a portion that would be awesome.
Well, yeah, because we don't have anything to do with that. So it'd be nice if we could have a link that would go to them and they can deal with it.
Yes, exactly. I will work on it. Then there's also a Bridge 247 that has we need to have a discussion. So Bridge 247, let me come down here because it's one of our ongoing road closures. Again, this is right on our landing page, right underneath the public notices, our current one, West Shore. Right underneath it is road closures. So let's go take a look at current road closures. One of our longest term road closures is W Southeast, the Canal Bridge. So this bridge was taken out to widen the canal. Effectively, there was a bulb where the canal was not as wide. It has already been widened to 120 feet on both sides. And there's this one portion where a bridge is at where it was still the old 90 feet. So we went forward and in good faith worked with USBR and the irrigation district, and funding from the feds was provided and from the state as well to fund the bridge. Now, the problem with state and federal funding like that is you have to get, yes, the funds have been allocated $4.5 million, but there's a process you go through before you're even grant eligible, before you can even draw that money. You have to go through a process. And one of the sticking points is the bridge was demoed before it was grant eligible. And it wasn't us. What happened is the irrigation district during their work to widen the canal right there, they backed into, and that's what this is all describing here. We wanted to put it on our website so that the people in the area that are impacted by this closure, because now they have to drive 9 miles to get around the spot. So I think we're going to be fine. I think ultimately our federal funding is still going to be just fine. But having this emergency demolition of our bridge by the irrigation district. So the irrigation district backed up into it with their dozer and damaged the bridge. So the bridge could not be used anymore, even for the temporary bridge, which is what we were working on. So unfortunately, it also caused the county damages as well. So the board authorized the county road funds. Here we go. This is several years ago. The board authorized the road funds to be used to work on the preliminary engineering to get the grants. So those grants have been put aside by Fed and state, and now we're working on accessing those. There's things that you got to go through. There's a process. So to date, we have spent out of the road fund $78,000, but this was board authorized. We spent $78,000 over the last 2 years to go after those grants, and that was authorized by the board as part of the commitment between USBR, the irrigation district, and the county working as a team in good faith. So those are authorized expenditures, including what we're doing right now, the final steps to get that money. But again, nothing we've done is grant eligible. So those $78,000 we've expended from the road fund, we cannot bill to the grant. A lot of people think we can, but no, those have been expended before the grant has even started. Then the irrigation district damaged the bridge. And yes, they were involved in the demo. They actually pulled out those piers that you see there. The county had to come out though, because these beams are in great shape and we can use those on other bridges and for other reasons. So our county staff, this was a surprise to us. We did not know that we were going to have to demo the bridge before the grant funds came in. So the county had a significant expenditure because we also had to go out and inspect and document what happened because we kind of knew this would affect the grant. So there was $20,000 was spent that the board has not authorized. So what we did is created a separate reimbursable for all the work that has been done because the bridge was damaged. Because we knew that, hey, that's a separate expense. So the board authorized all the work that we've done as far as the engineering to go get that grant. But the board has not authorized any expenses due to the damage of the bridge.
So because the Bureau damaged it, wouldn't they be responsible for that?
Well,
You would think.
so John did the right thing. John sent him a bill for that $20,000. And they were very upset that, hey, we thought that the county pays for everything. And say, wait a second, the damage of the bridge caused real expenses to the county. So the irrigation district responded that we paid for the demo. We went out with our equipment and we finished the demo of the bridge. Well, we were involved in that. Both parties had to work together to demo that bridge. There's real expenses that occurred. It's not a small number, 20,000. I don't think it's, maybe in good faith, we could absorb that, but it's something that the board has not authorized. So I'm not supposed to be just spending money on anything at any time. So you did the right thing billing him for that because it was a separate reimbursable for damages done to our bridge. The irrigation district and the USBR are saying, hey, that bridge was going to come out anyways. True. However, since we took it out early, there's effects that happen because of that. We expected to have a grant and that grant be eligible to pay before we had to do demo. So that's why, and I think they're starting to figure out, I had another conversation with the USBR this morning because the irrigation, there's three parties here. The irrigation district and USBR don't necessarily talk either, right? So the irrigation district is basically asking us to absorb that 20,000, saying, hey, we helped you demo the rest of your bridge, and yes, that is something, but that would have been paid for out of the grant. It is true.
I would say any additional cost created by the irrigation district is paid by the irrigation district.
All right.
And if it ends up costing more or we don't get the grant, I mean, I'd put
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole thing on it.
So
we have 3 years to put an insurance claim against them.
That's exactly it.
Lawsuit against them.
Does the board want me to move forward with the claim? I know it's only 20,000 now, but in that claim, I would identify the possibility of harm to our grant. And it may not be a problem, but I think it should be identified.
So let me ask this.
Yes.
Because you're widening there, looks like you're widening the canal,
They widened the canal.
It was them. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
but did they think the bridge was just gonna end before they widened it? I mean, they're gonna have to widen it regardless, right?
So that's the $4.5 million has been set aside to build a brand new bridge. So this is the old bridge, and the old bridge was completely serviceable. It's actually in really good shape. This is an elective project for the county. The county did not have to do this. So in good faith though, because there's additional irrigation water was necessary for further to the south. In good faith, we worked with them. And the concept was it shouldn't cost the county anything. So they did help to go get these grants, so federal grant and a state grant, to be able to completely rebuild the bridge.
Okay.
But the plan was for us to just take off that first span so that they could widen it, and then we could put in a temporary bridge, which is a Bailey Bridge. It's a single lane, and it required that center pier to be able to make it work. As soon as that center pier was damaged, a temporary bridge was not possible anymore. So unfortunately, it damaged us in another way that I haven't even commented about, is because that took away all the local access as well for years.
Right.
That we thought we would have with the temporary bridge. By the way, USBR did come forward and provide a bunch of bridge parts. So we had a certain amount of bridge parts, Bailey Bridge parts. They had a bunch still in their yard, and they said, come get them to finish so you can do your temporary bridge here. So USBR is actually really helping out as well. But the issue was the irrigation district, when they widened, they damaged the bridge. So USBR is absolutely good faith. In conversation with them this morning, absolutely good faith. They were unaware of those additional expenses to the county, the USBR. So I let them know about that this morning, and I told them I don't know what the board is going to decide, whether we claim or just absorb it.
I don't even think there should be a question. I mean, they damaged it. It's their responsibility to fix it. It'd be no different than if you got a car accident and it's your
Well, it would have been no
responsibility to take care of
difference
it.
if Public Works damaged something of theirs. We
Oh,
would
yeah.
have fixed it immediately.
We would have got a bill.
So, yeah.
All right.
And they're right, that whole thing had to come out, but once we had the grant, it was gonna come out and be paid for. This isn't
There's a
paid for.
difference between how it's paid for.
Exactly. And an operator backing into the pier more than once, I believe. Was that part of the plan?
We don't know the whole story, because when we showed up, it was damaged. By the way, when they did pull it out, they took two of their dozers and an excavator. Those piers fought really hard. They barely took the rest of that bridge down. Those piers were difficult for them to tear out, but they did tear out the concrete piers. All right, we will go forward with the claim. Thank you, actually. That really helps us know which direction to go on this. How's your time? Nice. Okay. West Shore discussion, accomplishments.
How much longer until that thing actually moves forward?
So it's an excellent question.
Yeah, messing up the Bailey Bridge really kind of messed up, what we were telling the landowners.
I know. If we had that Bailey Bridge out there, and
I
we
just
had,
assumed that the bridge was getting built over the last however long since it got brought up. Now I'm kind of like, geez.
Yep. So
Okay.
it all comes down to money. The money has been set aside, but we don't have access to it. Here's the problem. So that was the USBR contacting me, saying, okay, what's your plan? What's your schedule for rebuilding the bridge? And I had to tell them where we're at right now. It's a little bit of a situation. But I told them I was still confident that we were going to be able to access those funds, but it's just, there's a new process we got to go through because the bridge is gone. That was the first thing the WashDOT people said to me, the bridge is gone already? Yeah, it was demoed because it was damaged. The first thing they were asking for, we need documentation for all of that to keep this grant going.
Yeah.
So, wow. So they put their foot down right away. You can't just do that. You can't just tear out a bridge when you got it funded.
I think that's why we need to go against irrigation for right now, is to show
Notify them.
like, hey, we didn't have any plan of.
Exactly.
We've been operating on good faith right from the beginning. We chose to help them out and
Well,
to
yeah, it
get,
was part of.
and they've received grant. They've signed contracts and have already been sending new water. So they have already been making money with the new water now that's passing by the widening of this bridge. But the county is still kind of left holding the bag because now we got to build a wider bridge. So that I think they just need to be notified through a claim, and I'll need your help on that, John. Thank you.
This bridge is out by El Oro, isn't it?
Farther out, it's way out by the county line.
Okay.
Closer to like the Hooterite
It affects them.
colony. It's about a mile
Great.
from there.
They were very interested in when this bridge was, we're unhappy that we weren't able to put a temporary bridge in anymore. I just let them know, Hey, we wanted to. We even have all the parts to do it, but now we can't. All right. And then as far as rescinding Bridge 350, Public Works is in support. So no worries, but we just wanted to give you a hard time. And CRP 2501 Drumheller Phase 3, we're very excited to continue rolling with that. And I'm hearing some excitement in our community because they're starting to find out about it. It's like, what? You guys are really doing? Yeah, we're really doing this now. Very exciting. So thank you. Thank you for support on that. Anything else?
I don't know anything.
22 minutes.
You working with City of Moses Lake very closely on, making sure our roads are connecting for the future?
It's really good that you bring that up. So what's happening is WashDOT is doing a lot of planning, and the city and WashDOT are doing a lot of planning for the interchanges through, but there's not necessarily communication for the outer county. And what we've been working on the county level, and you can see it in our 6-year plan, is we are ringing the entire city of Moses Lake with a major collector / truck route. Because these trucks are no longer necessarily going on 17 and going through the city. They're just looking at their Google Times. And as soon as Drumheller is built, that's also going to be another game changer. As soon as we finish up the truck route, the Wheeler to Port truck route, was it N to 7 across, there's some improvements that need to be done, and it's in our 6-year plan. As soon as we finish up that truck route, you've got that side. Truckers will now start to take, well, they're already doing it. They'll take the county roads on the east side, and then with Drumheller in, they'll get off early, even to go to the port. They would get off early, go up Drumheller, and then come into the port from the north end, just because the timing, Google Times will tell them. The city intends to put in another roundabout at Yanazawa and Kittleson. You've already, the single roundabout that we have on 17 coming out is already changed traffic patterns that we see out. Basically, people are taking the other interchanges and exiting early. Truckers are taking just weird routes through the county now. So we need to provide for that. So to answer your question, I think there's pretty good communication between the city and WashDOT, but not necessarily with the county. So I go to meetings and I describe to them what I'm doing. They're like, what? I said, well, the county is moving forward. We're building these projects. And they haven't really included that in their kind of global plan. And we're building them. West Shore is an example. Drumheller is an example. We're just charging forward. Our 6-year plan shows it on there. Although, if you take a look at the city's new 6-year plan, it's very aggressive. Very aggressive. So that's a good conversation for another day. I think we need better regional transportation coordination between all the agencies. I don't know if we're left out of a lot of conversations, but I'm not invited sometimes.
I think they just probably.
I don't know if they want to hear from me. So yeah, make sure when you're in those meetings, make sure to let them know, hey, make sure to invite the county engineer on these transportation meetings.
And then what are you doing on speed limits right now? Because it seems like, Ketterer contacted Kevin about even West Shore speed limit. I mean,
I'll need your
I
support.
just am recommending them to file a petition. I got another contact on Potato Hill Road.
Yep.
From.
So let's take a look at that. So we're talking about speed limit petitions.
Yeah, they're on the website.
Engineering, I can do this. Road petitions. So I think we just posted that new one that you're talking about, the Potato Hill one. Let's see, let's just go down. There's like a list of, here we go. 2025 road petitions, the new Potato Hill one. There's actually 2 separate petitions there. There's the ATV one and the speed zone. So maybe the speed zone happens first, ATV next, I don't know. But those are out there. And
what's the likelihood of just doing?
Why can't we just do them both at the same time?
Morning, how are you?
There's no such thing. We are too.
I agree. We'll do them both at the same time. So
There's
what
a
happens
key in
is
that. Two commissioners voted yes.
Begging for your job.
Exactly, that's
the
awesome.
key in that. That's never taken place.
You gotta have two on board. I think that one's going to start moving forward. I just need to spend some time on it, and I've been working on a lot of other things, unfortunately.
No, that's fine.
I need help on the petition side, because there's just a lot of petitions that have gathered that need to go through. Some of them are kind of dependent on the West Shore project too, so it's an excellent question. But they're on there, but I haven't had a chance to get to work on them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it would be super neat, in my opinion, if West Shore could access the dunes across through there and on Sand Dunes Road, and then we could access from the other side also. I mean, it'd be cool to be able to do a full circle through there.
I mean, my opinion of that is that you're gonna get a small percentage of people that are gonna drive their ATVs from their home clear out to the sand dunes. I don't see it happening. Cascade Valley is very minimal. We have maybe a few that run their side-by-sides up and down the road, but they're not doing it at 4 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning when the Harley Davidsons go by with 13 or 14 of them loud as can be rumbling down the road. I just don't think the side-by-sides are gonna be that big of an issue. People really feel that it's gonna be, and I just don't see it. That's my opinion.
All right, we'll bring that forward.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go into recess for 2 minutes until we're back at the sheriff's office. Good morning. It is 9:30 a.m. and we are here with the sheriff's office and their chief staff. 3 of them. How are you guys doing?
The best 3 too, right?
Yeah, I would argue that.
Good.
So would we.
What's the left? Chuck?
Yeah, it's Chuck's sick, John and Joey over at the
Oh,
Capitol.
yeah, definitely the best 3.
Ledge, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. What's on the agenda?
Oh,
Joey asked us to come in and sit in on his behalf.
just a office jail update for you guys, what you're seeing. If there's any trends, what you think of UTV use in the county,
What about it?
if it's a pain to you or not.
In Pelican Point, yes. Yes, it is. I've had to get on some of the kids out in Pelican Point that like to ride their dirt bikes, running around the neighborhood.
Non-licensed.
Yeah, it's the dirt bikes that you typically trailer out to the dunes, and we're a quarter mile from there, out in Pelican Point, and their parents just feel it's just too difficult for them to load the trailer up, take them out there, and then come home, and then go back out there and pick them up and then bring them back. So they just tell their kids to ride
Down the road.
down the road. They cut down Dune Lake Road. There's a little trail next to Potato Hill. They just ride that trail till they get to the dunes because they know better than to cut through Jake's fields. Jake will send feet after them.
I was gonna say, maybe they need to talk to Jake about a trail and
Yeah.
charge him.
Yeah. Well, probably more like the Hooterites. I think they're the ones who Jake gets the field from. I don't know. Joey asked to come over here and talk to you guys about the status of the death in the jail.
Do you want an executive for that, or do you want to be live?
Oh, it can be live.
Okay.
There's not a whole lot of new status to give to you guys. CBIT is still doing the investigation into it. They have contacted all of the corrections employees that were in service or working in and around that inmate during his time in incarceration. They're working with the corrections staff's union to abide by the CBA, but they sent them out different letters asking who's interested in being interviewed. Chief Coach just got the last of the letters back from the employees yesterday and forward them over to CBIT. So CBIT will be scheduling in-person interviews or times to take written statements from those employees. So we're kind of in a holding pattern there. Chief Coates and I talked yesterday about the internal investigation, which is being conducted by is it Frank? No, Benton County Sheriff's Office. They've got all the documents that they need now, and they're just going to wait until the criminal investigation is done by CBET. So nothing else new on that. Do you guys have any specific questions about anything going on?
Guys think of the new jail.
It's going up quick.
There's
Ready for it to be done.
10 o'clock today. Is that the next meeting for that?
No.
Oh, that's tomorrow. Tomorrow, yeah. Yeah, it's coming along really good. I see that they're putting up beams on the front side there where the sheriff's office is actually going to be. So I would imagine that's going to come together pretty quick.
There's some cells in place. Oh yeah, started loading the pods.
Mhm.
They're probably getting pretty close to being done with the mason work in the first pod. So, making good progress quickly.
Looks good. Hopefully we get out there next week, maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna go next week.
Yeah,
I was gonna go this week.
I think last week Joey took Kim, and I think he took Michelle Jaderland and some of her staff up there as well to kind of show them around.
Yeah, Kim said she hasn't been yet.
Oh, she hasn't?
No, but she took Michelle,
Mandy?
Mandy, Michelle.
Maybe that's
I
who it
think
was.
John took them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we were out there a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you'll be pleasantly surprised when you go up there. Whatever kind of nomenclature you kind of understood where you were in the building, it'll look totally different to you again.
I've been there, I don't even know how many times, 10, 12 times. I'll take that test. But yeah, if they put the walls up in the laundry kitchen area in between there, yeah, you probably get lost real quick.
It's really easy. The infirmary is huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get inside there, and it's kind of hard to get your bearings until things start developing a little bit more. There's just walls everywhere, rooms going every which direction.
That map's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's good.
We continued to get more calls on the RV in Lakeview from Kathy. And it's been measured. It is on the public right of way, but there's
Process.
restrictions we can't tow it because it's lived in,
I told her that.
but trying to get them to move it. The guy knows he's got to move it. He's just doing nothing to do it. I think he knows that we can't tow it. Tow
Is it an RV or a camper?
RV.
I explained that to Kathy about the fact that he's living.
She's not very patient.
No, I know that.
When she calls,
She used to work for me.
Is she blowing up your phone?
She's settled down, but I suspect that'll happen again.
she gets pretty, when she calls in the morning, she's decent to talk to. When she calls in the afternoon, she's gotten some liquid courage going, and she's not as
Nice about it.
not as easy to deal with and doesn't remember much.
That's nice.
I was gonna ask her, you moved into Lakeview. Hasn't changed in 20 years.
She lived there, and then she moved to May Valley. And then she came back for whatever reason. But the Pulliam property is cleaned up. There's been some guidance on the castle on Airway. Yeah. They're just posting it, so I think eventually we're gonna end up moving through the process because nobody wants to claim ownership. Somebody will surface all of a sudden when people are getting evicted off the property for a cleanup. But it is making good progress.
Hopefully that'll take care of some of those stray dogs that come down to my house all the time.
That lot will end up being cleaned, nothing there.
Mhm.
There's nothing that's code, meets code.
Do we have any hazardous waste up there?
I'm not gonna say no.
Afraid of that.
Behind the wall is just scrap,
I can only
junk.
imagine. So
But
do you think the county's gonna end up having to pay for that cleanup?
Oh, yeah. That's gonna be one of our, abatement processes. So if it gets,
Won't probably cost anywhere as much as the last couple though.
no,
I'd be more.
I could see it being 20-25,000. But by the time you evict them and they take, there's a couple RVs there shoved in that little area, you take those and some of their vehicles, it's just gonna be scrap and garbage. Probably a 1 or 2 day cleanup.
Probably get the neighbors to help us with that. They'll be happy.
Just have their neighborhood cleaned up.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know what you're gonna see when you go by that place. Nice to have that gone.
So a couple months ago, you guys allowed us to partner with Blue Bridge Alliance. A little update on that. Blue Bridge Alliance is it's a funding source for first responders, specifically our deputies, to help out the community with random acts of kindness without getting into their own personal finances. Historically, sheriff's deputies have seen a need in the community and they just use their personal finances to buy a car seat for somebody or, come across a family living in their car because they're in transition. They'll buy a stack of pizzas for dinner so this is a funding source that gives deputies that want to participate, gives them a debit card. I think it's got like $150 on it for them to recognize a need and then not have to decide if it's coming out of their own personal finances or if they're sacrificing something at home to take care of somebody in the community. The state, I forget the representative out of Puyallup, what her name is, but she supported it. The state has set aside $2,500 of matching funds as part of seed money, startup money. So the state will earmark $2,500. Once we raise $2,500, then our account has $5,000 to start spending. And then after that, it's locally supported by donations. So we had a fundraiser last Thursday at the tap room, bingo night, raised over $2,100. So we've met our matching goal. So we're proceeding with, there's some classroom work that needs to be done by the deputies, and then they'll get their debit card and they'll be able to start recognizing needs in the community and helping people out. And you can use it to buy a night in a hotel for somebody or a family, or repair a flat tire for somebody trying to get to work. Washington DOT has a program. They have money set aside to help motorists. So if somebody that partners with Blue Bridge uses their card to repair a flat, pay for gas, we can route that back to DOT, Washington DOT, and they will credit our account. So it won't go against us and that's just to keep the right of ways open so people aren't stranded in their vehicles, or if somebody needs a headlight paid for, they can fix equipment violations to decrease collisions, decrease, somebody getting a ticket for an equipment violation, and just all in good pillars of public trust.
Could a private shop be involved with that? Like they got a tow truck, or they'll donate repairs or things like that?
I imagine they could if the business wanted to. So yeah, I'm not aware of Blue Bridge partnering with private companies, but I could find out more information for you if that's something.
I just think my son would probably be willing to do some stuff for it.
Yeah, what we're trying to do is we'll have like a QR code, and so this Blue Bridge Alliance will kind of be our flagship donation place. So like private businesses want to do that, they can do a donation to the Blue Bridge Alliance, and then we can recognize the business and we can use that money to like help pay for, vehicle equipment or damages or buy tires or repair a flat or stuff like that. So, sheriff's office staffing, at least from the patrol, our patrol perspective, we're down 8, and there's, I think, six that have conditional offers are in the various stages of pre-employment. So we're hoping all of them work out, 2 of which are entry-level deputies. So it'll be at least a year from data hire to academy graduation, FTO, and then to have them released is a year, 14 months, 16 months sometimes. Yeah. So depending upon how long it takes them to progress through, if they get extended or it takes a little bit longer.
When you put somebody through that, do you have a contract that they have to work for you a certain amount of time, or can they just get their certificates and then leave?
Yeah, they can get their certificates and leave. It's rare for us to experience that.
Yeah.
We usually end up benefiting from that thing from smaller agencies. They'll get out of the academy, work for a year, 18 months, and then they're coming to us with some experience and looking for more opportunity. So we typically benefit more from it than it happens to us.
I'd say 5 to 6 to 1. As far as ATVs on the roadway, is that gonna happen?
I don't know.
My worry is you're gonna have people that don't make them street legal. So they're gonna be sand dunes legal, but not street legal to go down the roadway.
I mean,
And then-
the state law is pretty clear on what they have to have. It is.
It is, correct, but they're not gonna abide by it.
Yeah,
Would we have to lower speed limits on some of the roads like Potato Hill Road?
35 or under, yeah.
So we would have to drop it back down below from 50 to 35 again?
Yeah, I think we're kind of looking at that anyway.
Even without them. We're looking at kind of any high-density UGA roads all being 35. As a blanket.
I think West Shore 25.
Well, that's the request, yeah.
To take West Shore down to 25 now?
Not 70.
Yeah, I heard some guy was telling me they were going 100 miles an hour down West Shore. I'm like,
Yeah, I don't think they're going that fast, but
seem right, but
I've seen them at 70.
We've had that radar trailer out there that's done that monitoring a few different times. And people are always complaining about the speed, and I think we get those speed averages out there, and it's never what everybody is saying it is. But I mean, I'm sure that they're probably 50, 55, but average, I'd have to talk to Public Works, but I couldn't imagine it's anything above 50.
Are you running your speed trailer quite a bit?
Where we needed it to, like we get a lot of complaints down in the desert area, so we'll place that speed trailer down there. Sometimes it's not monitoring or setting off any bells and whistles and alarms to let other people know, and most people will then think it's not turned on. But we've set it down there before when we get complaints from Pam and the other folks that are down there, and then we get the data back, and it shows that all the cars that they say are traveling on, say, Desert Air Drive, for instance, there's no data to support what they're saying, and the average speed is like 23 miles an hour. And so it kind of
They just want your presence.
They do, and that's what they want. They tell you what they think you need to hear to go down there, instead of just saying, hey, we'd really love to see an officer sit down here.
Yeah.
If you want to do your reports from sitting in my driveway. I mean, I think a lot of our deputies would be more encouraged by that than the continuous.
Like you're not doing your job.
Yeah, yeah, sure, I'll sit in your driveway, because we love to find places to sit that people will allow us to, because a lot of times they'll come out and say, hey, do you need coffee? Do you need water? Do you need anything like that? Well, no, thank you, but still,
Safer place when your head's down too.
yeah, because you know that somebody's watching over you or something, you know? But we'll put that radar trailer out wherever, I mean, we put it out on White Trail Road before. That's another habitual place that we get.
That's because that's one of the new ones, right?
Yeah.
Our new radar trailers, they could ticket too. We're not gonna do that, but
Yeah.
they're capable. But when they're shut down, they're still recording. Like when everything's off, they still record. All
Yeah,
the,
so yeah, collects data and
Yeah.
you can spit out a report.
Yeah. So you can turn them on and warn the people, flash them and all that, or you can turn them off and still record it.
Do you think the lighted signs that show your speed limit or your speed, like up by the school zones, do you think those are helpful at all?
I do.
Like
I think
those
that
on West Shore?
that sign that the county put up out there on Potato Hill Road is very helpful as well. The one that tells you your speed as you're going, I guess, be south over.
Right.
I know there's a lot of folks that I'll be following, and they're just not paying any attention. As soon as they get close enough to that thing, they see their speed. You'll watch the brake lights come on and slow back down.
County has 5 of those.
Yeah, I think they're great.
I think we should think about putting those out on West Shore. And maybe one more out on Potato Hill Road. Is there one coming north? I've never.
I don't think there's one coming north. We do have a lot of the Chief Lehman's, when he instituted that flock program, we have a couple of flock cameras out in that general area. City has one at the roundabout there at Yonezawa. We have one right there by Potato Hill and Baseline. Another one at Baseline down by Potato Frontage Road. One down in that area. So we got a lot of cameras going in and out of that area, but not necessarily like speed monitoring, except for that one that's going south at the Smoker Bridge.
And the flashing signs do not gather data.
Right.
But I think it just, people see.
Easily portable.
Public Works is pretty careful on a lot of signage because if something happens in an area that's similar, like if there was an accident, not having the same signage in both similar locations can create liability.
It's the 1%.
Yeah, so they're pretty careful on. That's why we say like a blanket speed limit of all UGA, or just kind of removes any liability if it happens, if an accident happens somewhere else.
Well, and if that particular area out there going towards the dunes is only going to get bigger now anyways, because I see that they just put up some signage out there for a new recommended residential area in that field.
Yeah, they're gonna develop that field.
Yeah, I know they've been planning on doing it for quite some time, and then it kind of fizzles away, but now I've started to see a little bit more
Well,
development.
they finally got the approval.
Yeah.
They said they've been working on it for 20 years.
I don't know how many homes they anticipate on building out there, but it's just gonna make that area build bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't know if the developer has given.
Hey, what do I do for the passport?
Superior Court, across the breezeway and upstairs.
Can I make it through here?
Yep, just go right down this way and take a right.
All right, thank you.
You'll go outside and then back inside. I don't think they got the breezeway.
Hopefully the utilities out there kind of keep up with it, because as it is right now, you have that Pelican Point water system that is supplying water, or at least house water, to house and irrigation water for everybody in Pelican Point, and then house water for everybody in Dune Lake. So hopefully the utilities keep up with the demand for the homes. But
I was hoping that they would bring in city water and city sewer to that development instead of having septics.
yeah, I don't know what they're planning on doing.
I need to talk to Kim about that.
I know, I think all that area, they would just have to connect right there at the intersection anyways, because they ran and dug that whole road up years ago to run out to the city's wastewater treatment plant out there south of baseline anyways. So we'll see. Got anything else, John?
More than I thought we were gonna get into.
Yeah?
All right. You
That's
got
it.
anything else?
Slough's property out there on the Pell. I see they move around a little bit, but nobody's leaving.
They cleaned something up,
Yeah, they did.
because there's trespass signs up now, and
I think Leslie had mentioned that got an attorney involved now, so hopefully that'll.
I noticed that motorhome that was parked right in front of the building is gone, and every window has a no trespassing sign.
Yeah, they moved out to the corner of their property now. But hopefully with the attorney involved, that'll all go away. So.
Good. We'll go in recess until 10 a.m. I'm live. Good morning. It is 10 a.m. and we are here for a facilities and maintenance update with Tom Gaines and Kevin Schmidt.
Well, good morning, commissioners, and anybody online. I don't know if we have any call-in users, but
We had one earlier.
yeah.
No, just Carrie.
Okay. So I want to start off with correcting something from yesterday. Kind of a correction, but not. I mean, so yesterday in our exchange, Rob, during the central services update, I was talking about the consolidation, and you had stated truthfully that the board was supporting me and my decision to consolidate, but it wasn't. I want to make sure it's clear that it wasn't my decision to consolidate. There was a lot of.
Well, there was a lot that led up to it.
There was a lot that led up to it, and just a quick little history.
I support it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So
But
it started. The conversation really started. We've for a long time since I started here had trouble with the jail because there's a separation of maintenance duties, and it turns out the sheriff had gone out and hired their own maintenance guy. And that was due to a poor relationship between maintenance and the sheriff, poor leadership. I mean, you talk about that all day long, but that was the end result. So trying to fix that, and then that got into a larger conversation about consolidation. And numerous times, Rob had said, I think everybody should be under one, and I supported that. I was like, that's true, and it makes sense. So it was kind of a combined everybody kind of decision. We didn't do it very well. We didn't, and that's on all of us. We didn't have good buy-in from Public Works, and we still struggle with some of that.
we had no buy-in from anyone other than Renew at the time.
Yeah, but we're here, and the biggest thing for me is, the board put forth a decision. The board unanimously decided, right, this is the direction we're going to go, and I'm here to support that 100%. I think it's a good thing, and we just have to get there, and be better. So. But it wasn't just solely my decision. So
Right. I'm assuming everybody's on board with it now and cooperating.
No, but they are cooperating.
yeah, there you go. That's what it put.
Reluctantly.
So
there's still bridges to be built there and
Okay.
things to correct.
the
The biggest
it's
problem here
perception
is that
culture.
they want to be silos. Because there's accountability if everybody's working together and everybody's being overseen. And people want specialties. Issues we had with maintenance positions are the sheriff's maintenance person kind of came and go as they wanted, and they had their own truck. So, they didn't have a fuel bill because they had a county card and a county truck. So there was that, but none of our maintenance staff at the courthouse had any of those benefits. Public Works was the same. They had county trucks, lived in Moses Lake, drove to Ephrata. So, a fuel bill is a big expense if you're always driving a county vehicle. So there were just a lot of things that the employees were angry about, which then put the pressure on their friends / staff / superiors. And so we fought that probably for a year, probably more than a year.
But yeah, but from a more business centric standpoint, where I could very easily report on the courthouse facilities. You weren't getting good reporting on the jail. You weren't getting good reporting on all of the public works buildings. And so by putting it all under one umbrella, you have one-stop shopping And we can report on all of those facilities, and you get a good feel for what's happening across all of your buildings, right? Regardless of who's occupying them. Because at the end of the day, all of those buildings are owned by you. You know, those are county buildings, regardless of what fund paid for them and who occupies them. The county owns the facilities, which is you. So
That we maintain.
yeah. So with all that, right, so Kevin is our, the facilities manager, right? And as we've discussed, there's lots of things to discuss in the maintenance world projects. We'll talk about, you know, the coroner's wall that we're putting up there. As he talks about that, I'll preface it with the coroner continues to add staff but has no room. They've outgrown their space at the health district building. And when the coroner moves out, we should look to do a major renovation of that building. Over the years, it's been chopped to pieces with antiquated electrical and HVAC systems, and the space constraints make it difficult for the health district because they've outgrown the first floor. And the basement, I think is a lot of it's used for storage, right? A large portion of it. I don't even know if that's occupiable, but
Just the corner section is basically would be an office section. The rest is mechanical room and the rest is health district records that they have to maintain and take care of. So,
and I don't know if they should do that offsite, but I don't know if they'd be willing. It's quite a big space.
it is. It would be quite a bit to renovate. I mean, it is still concrete walls and it's bare concrete walls and suspended ceilings, but you know, it might be cheaper, you know, I guess if we dove into it and looked at it, it might be cheaper than trying to build something new. I mean, you stick 75, 100,000 into that versus.
Yeah, just a consideration. And let's see, I'll let Kevin talk about other different things they're doing, but moving public works to the building department. So poor communications. So the voicemail that I received, I can play it if you want to hear it. So I got a voicemail from Dave Bren saying, we're just doing it. We're moving 2 people to the front counter. You know, we have a need to have 2 people at a front counter. You know, I need your support. We've always had somebody, you know, that was killing it at the last minute, but we've got everybody on board, so we're just doing it. You know, we need to have all of the permitting done at one counter, so we're moving to the front counter. So that's what I'm hearing, right? And if you look at when you walk into the building department, those desks are laid out in such a way that there's minimums for ingress and egress and pathways out, right? There's limited data and power. So my thought is, what in the heck are you talking about? You can't put 2 people out there. So I sent Dave an email back going, well, you assumed a lot. I don't know anything about this. First time hearing about it. And I don't know if any of that is even feasible. Well, it turns out Jim Cook had offered up an office. It was never a part of the voicemail, never a part of the messaging.
Yeah, these things just come up and it's just like.
Yeah, and and first we hear of it was yesterday and he's moving people, you know, and that's hard. That's really hard.
So,
And it doesn't just affect maintenance, it affects the technology services group because you got data that's moving, you know, your phones are all assigned a port.
Yeah.
So they got to have all that information up front, make sure it's available, where it's coming from.
Yeah, we can, if you have a specific, we can dive into more of it specifically, but.
so I understand the proper channel should be to involve you guys as well.
Which he did, but he did after decisions were made and it was like, we're doing it. It's like, thanks, you know, so, and that continues to happen. So they built a wall out of plywood or something?
Yes. So it from our standpoint, right, is like we trying to protect taxpayers' dollar and the property that's bought with that. You go into these offices and they have office systems that are set up and all of a sudden you go in there and it's tore apart and in pieces. And it's like, well, who made that decision? And these are $5,000 plus systems and all of a sudden you'll find them just tore apart, moved around, and things maybe not so much job related. All of a sudden they'll be apart and then all of a sudden a personal cabinet in there with their pictures and stuff will be set up. So the spaces were designed originally to be functional and give them the most function for what they said they needed, and all of a sudden it's tore apart, right? So it gets frustrating with that. We got a lot of parts left over from these things, and
Yeah, so that's,
Frustrating.
yeah, that's been, so to a little bit more specificity there, you know, we started this program when we were replacing furniture. When I first got here, the assessor was split actually between this room and your current offices. And this room down here, they literally had those Vietnam era metal desks. And some of them had, I'm not kidding, they had plywood tops that were screwed to them. You know, somebody sanded them to make it nice, but they were still a plywood top. And it was like, we really can't give you a good functional desk. The drawers were crooked and didn't work, right? So we started on, you know, the commissioners approved it, and we started going with the Herman Miller furniture. It's on a cooperative purchasing contract. But it was pretty well delineated to everybody. You know, we come in and we measure a space. Yeah, go for it.
You haven't been here that long,
11, 12 years.
but the county had money back then.
Yes.
What were they doing with it?
I
Just
don't-
curious.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
They certainly weren't.
You
So,
weren't like you are today back then, probably. But,
well, they certainly weren't. Let me put it to you this way. You
they're
know,
doing something with it.
my motto is that I won't let technology or your office environment be a reason for you to hate coming to work, right? You know, I mean, the biggest complaints were, look at this place, it's always freezing, the lights stink, you know, it's never been updated. My desk has plywood top, right? So, but the premise was, if we're gonna get this done and done correctly, you know, the vendor we use, they come in and they measure out the space, they know where the windows, doors, power, data is, and then they build it to that. So we told people, once that's in there, that is that office space. It doesn't go with you. You might move somewhere else. We'll make sure that that office is set up correctly. Now, to see what Nathan did to his office across the street, that was the first time I saw it. I go into my old office that I was when I was over there, and there's holes this big in the wall, and all of the uppers are gone. The pieces are taken apart and spread apart in a conference room. And I'm like, what in the heck happened? You know, and somebody just wanted to build their desk completely different. So they just ripped these things apart and built a new desk. And it was like, oh my gosh. So lots of emails, lots of discussion about that and that kind of stuff. But it's not the first time, you know, and it seems to be prevalent. You know, we kind of got into it with Public Works a little bit when they decided to change an office around, and they said, we just don't think we should have to ask you. It's like, well, if we're going to maintain the space, you should ask us. You know, you should be talking to us about it first. And then you walked in and somebody had built a wall.
They built partitions. So as we try to keep
What are you
up,
talking about? The plywood.
go look at David Brenn's cubicle.
Anyway, so there continues to be a, you know, I don't want to call it a lack of respect, but again, to talk about the siloing effect or the we're not a part, it's the culture, right? We're remote. We're not a part of you. You know, leave us alone. We just want to operate independently.
See, now this right here, Tom,
Yeah.
this is a good reason for this meeting. Because if you come and you talk to us about that partitioning of plywood, why didn't you just request a cubicle? You know, we can actually work on those things. And I didn't know that. I mean, I've even been there and don't know that.
Well, and I hadn't seen it until the other day when we got the flooring done. I went up and checked it, and I was like,
Well, my concern is they're damaging county property. They don't have the authority to tear walls apart or take cabinets down. That's
Well, and to us, I really got into it. Me and Missy had a really ugly exchange via email for a number of exchanges because they, you know, over the weekend went in there and painted that office, right? So, you know, we've tried to create a professional look for the public. When you come in, things are, you know, it might not be perfect, but when it's
They're consistent.
It's consistent, it's relatable, okay? And we've always told people, well, if you want to go and paint your office, right, that, you know, the public doesn't just walk in and view and see a kaleidoscope of colors, that's fine. You know, if you want to provide the paint, we'll give you supplies, right, whatever. So some people have done that where they wanted to paint their office a different color, but if it's a public-facing space, we've said no. So, you know, the big thing with Missy is she knew what the policy was because we talked about it before. And, you know, the end comment of me was it all starts with an ask, right? It's just a work order, you know, maybe we can work on it together and figure it out instead of just coming in over the weekend and surprise, you know, so And that's still like that over there. It's just, at some point, it's like, do I even want to? I've got a million problems, and I can't let that one be my prime problem.
No, but if we had everybody in the county doing what you're saying, and they just all of a sudden decide they want to repaint their whole inside of their building.
And that's what they were doing.
Acceptable for us.
Yeah, and that's what they were doing.
And there's a cost to it, right, besides just doing that. So we've got all the old paint that came from all these different colors that were sitting out here stored. And it's gonna be around $3,000 to dispose of.
You walk up to maintenance and there's a can of paint sitting out in front of your door. It's like, what's this? Oh, it's garbage. Okay. Where did it come from?
You have that stuff now?
So I'm working with Graymar out of Moses Lake on that. I've got 90+ gallons of paint.
Wonder how much Public Works would let us do when they do their paint chemical days in the
I've
spring.
asked if I could do it with them, and they're like, it's because you're a government entity
We've got
or.
dump trailers. We'll just pick it up.
I know, I've asked, and I got, no, because you're a business or a government entity, you're kind of responsible on your own, right? So it's like, well, we can each take a 5-gallon bucket and drop it off every time personally on Saturdays, but that's, I don't know. I'm not gonna ask my guys to do that. It's kind of.
I think paint's always been, so it was kind of funny when I first started here, and F Street was an absolute mess. We're always keeping up with it because it becomes our
Catch-all.
our catch-all storage area. There was one of those, it was an old road district building, really old, from the 40s and 50s. There was a 55-gallon drum of yellow striping paint that was hard as a rock sitting in there, and it's like, what do we do with this? And everybody's like, well, you can't take it to the dump.
You can if it's hard.
Yeah. Well, yeah, at the time, it was like, well, it's a great boat anchor. So,
Now, we still clean that up, so, yeah, people move out of buildings, that's, things we find, so. But, no, that's one of our challenges, is people just taking liberties with county property and appearance.
Discipline.
well, the problem is that can't come from me, right? It can't come from us. And when it's another elected official, it's one thing if it's Public Works because they're a direct report to you guys, right? You can talk to Andy or John or what have you, but I don't know what you do when it's, a Kim Allen or a Missy or
You still own the building,
you do. You do.
technically, regardless of whether
Yeah.
they're elected official, you still own the building.
Yeah, and I was looking through the policy this morning, and I can't, because I thought there was something in policy about it, and I can't find it now.
There is, I can't remember which section it is, but it talks about county property and
Yeah.
taking care of it and managing it and decisions on it. I can't remember the exact wording, but it's in there.
Some of the other things we'd like to do. So a number of years ago, we had done a request for proposals for on-call architectural and engineering services. And then we didn't renew it. The purpose behind it is so that you have a list of architects you can call when you need help with something, where you don't need a full RFQ because you're not going to build something, but you need an architect to spend $5,000 telling you how to do something and helping you with bids. There's a little part of the procurement law that says, as a public entity, when we go out to bid, we're supposed to provide an engineer's estimate of the work. Well, we don't have an engineer all the time. When I go out and do the horse barn electrical upgrades this year, I don't have an estimate for that. I have my budget number. But if I put my budget number, there's kind of a game that gets played. If I put my budget number out there, my bids will come in within 5% of that budget number. I won't get somebody's best price. So I purposely will leave that out of the bid document. And not very often will people ask me what the budget number is. They'll just give me the bid. But by law, I'm supposed to. And you're supposed to be able to get that engineer's estimate from your county engineer. Well, that's not the role of the county engineer. It never has been, and it shouldn't be. So by doing on-call services, then you create a list of 4 or 5 architects, and then you go down the list when You know, you have to hire one to do something, then you hire one, and then you go to the next one and the next one. And typically, it's for fee values less than 50 grand, you know, so you're not doing a full-on deal. But, so I think we're working on that to do that again. We have a professional services budget to pay for it. We just didn't redo the RFQ a couple of years ago. We just need to. I'm gonna let you talk. I mean, if you want to talk some of the other things.
Just so you know, you are 4 minutes over your time.
I had a half hour.
15 minutes.
It says 10 to 10:30, and then it says GCTS 10:30 to 11.
10 to 10:15, 10:30 to 10:45.
Oh,
I'm just
sorry.
telling you, so your time would already be up.
I'm sorry.
So not too bad, but I do have more questions.
Yeah, go for it.
Kevin's good to go.
Yeah, because we thought it was a
We'll
half
take the
hour.
whole half hour up, but
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
Okay.
Well, I'm good to sit.
No, you go.
You want me to leave?
No.
Oh, you got to go.
Yeah, you go. I was just letting you know,
Gotcha,
like, hey,
all
the
right.
15 minutes is already over.
So, all right, so some of the challenges that we experience are obviously recruiting for the open positions right now and trying to find qualified personnel to fit that. I know especially Public Works, it's been a challenge, just trying to backfill that position. They would like to get a maintenance for, Jeff, who was helping out there and ended up, with his experience, was a qualified candidate to fill in the site supervisor position at Renew. Gave him a taste of what a 4 brings and how that helps Brian. So probably some PMRT there. I'll be filling out a form and putting that in there to help with them. But yeah, just trying to fill those positions. We have a maintenance 4 position here that we're also trying to fill and get qualified candidates for. And it's tough, right? So I don't, Tom and I talked, and it sounds like we're gonna have a wage survey done again. But my guess is just listening to people out there that our wages have slipped quite a bit below what the industries are paying. So we'll have to try and figure out some way to balance that out.
It's going to be really helpful to get that because so Central Services a couple of years ago I did an internal compensation study, worked with the commissioners. I pushed pretty hard, and worked with HR. But we did a salary compensation across Central Services, both facilities and IT, and everybody got a bump. Everybody, you know, and it made us a lot more competitive. You know, and I had to provide my methodology and the whole 9 yards, but I still think we're probably, I don't know, we're probably low. It'll be really great to get that done.
What's maintenance force pay right now?
I think our max goes out around $36 an hour. And so knowing people in industry, that was about standard for a journeyman level, somebody working in the factories 4 years ago or so. With all the competition in the area now, yeah, they're over 40 fairly easily.
And that's one of the difficult components. The difficult components of that is we differentiate a maintenance 3 from a maintenance 4 by some type of journeyman credential, whether you're a journeyman, carpenter, electrician, plumber, millwright, whatever. We want to see that you went through a professional apprenticeship program. And that makes it difficult because you don't find a lot of people who have done that then want to go and work in county government. I'm a journeyman, he's a journeyman, Chris is a journeyman, Abel is a journeyman. They're out there and man, they're incredible assets when you find them. And we've been able to find 2 of them for the fairgrounds, you know, in Salvador and
Corey.
Thank you, Corey, the other Corey. And Chris is having fun just keeping work ahead of those guys, right? You know, so it's good when you can find them, and they're definitely an asset to the organization.
So that's one of the things that we're working on. So the position for Public Works, that's been posted since November. It's been that long. It's been open, and it significantly hurts on what we can get done with Public Works keeping up with their work. You know, and one of the things that comes out for maintenance is, I think another challenge is that we're viewed as project people, right? So how I feel maintenance is our goal is to maintain what we have and keep running what we have and keep it in good condition. So at some point that becomes a project. So replacing air handlers or, you know, lighting, updating things, but, we do a lot of PMs on, water heaters. We do walkthroughs in buildings just to make sure lights are in good condition, that their bulbs aren't out. We do all the PMs and filter changes on the HVAC equipment, make sure it's in good condition, clean out the coils. There's a lot of work that goes on the background people don't understand. So one of the things that I always have to remind people, that's our primary focus, because if we let that stuff slip, I may get this one project done, but I'm gonna have 20 more problems outside that we didn't address because we focused on this. So that's one thing that we work on. Again, Public Works is one that likes to move things around and keep it going. They have a lot of projects that need to get done. They actually have some deferred maintenance in there that needs to be taken care of. And so getting that other person in there to work for Public Works as a maintenance board would be a great asset. I think the other struggle with them is how their billing goes for people where they work that day. So they can't just come in at a straight wage and we pay them out of fund XXX. They go and work here for 2 hours, it's XXO, and the next one is XIIX. There's
granular.
yeah. And so it's hard for me to take anybody, which I'm more than willing to, because I view it the way you view it. It's county property. I just assume take care of it to get the work done. But bump up against those things and they're like, we can't do that. We're going to get in trouble, right? So the state laws say it's got to go from this fund or that fund. So that's one of the challenges that we run up against too. Renew is the same way, right? So it's hard for me to take people, put them over there to help out for a short time and pull them back, because then again, all that billing is grant funded, state funded, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but it creates some complications that kind of slows us from getting some of these jobs done.
You basically got to track what your employee does all day.
Yeah, and that's something else that I would say that Grant County is fairly unique, that we have a diversity of experience that we can do these projects. A lot of counties don't. The common thread in all the job descriptions is to keep the keep the county's facilities in a clean and safe condition. We strive to have a ratio of more preventative maintenance to reactive maintenance. But on top of that, we do have the capability to do projects, which saves the county a lot of money because we're not going out and getting contractors. So, and then I know we're over, but and then I'll give this a little spiel, and then if you want to add to it. So what do I want to see? More training opportunities, for the maintenance department, not for me, but for Kevin and his staff. Even if that means traveling across the country or whatever, the opportunities to see what's happening in the industry, to stay ahead of maintenance issues and practices is really critical. You allow people to learn and grow. They feel valued, they do better work. It leads to a more team-oriented view, promotes a healthy organization, leads to discretionary effort. And I'd like to, I've already talked to Kevin, I'd like to see an expansion of the CMMS stuff when we swapped, to Limble. We lost some of the reporting capability. We just got to figure out how to get it back.
How's your Limble ticket count right now?
Other than capital forecasts and some of those things in there, I'm pretty happy with Limble. The technicians are happy with Limble. So I have pretty easy reports and dashboards that I run into all the time and look and see what's going on. I can look at Renew and see how many work orders they got, Public Works, how many they got, how they're aged, dated.
Yeah, I was just wondering how they're.
If you had to take a guess, how many are we reacting to, like on a weekly or monthly basis?
Well, we're over 7,000 in the first year work orders. So
How many do you have waiting currently?
I think we were right around 150 the last I looked. So if I look at home, we have 290 open tasks. It's the first of the month, so all the PMs hit.
Yeah, that includes, preventative maintenance where we're going through all of these heat pumps and changing filters or what have you. So,
and then we can dive down and see, Public Works has 50 and Courthouse has 50, Fairgrounds has 50. It breaks it all out for us on how, we can zero in on where we need help. And back one more thing on the training. So one thing that's weird about the Columbia Basin is training doesn't happen here. It's usually Tri-Cities, Seattle, Spokane. So it, if we have a 2-day session somewhere, we usually have to go out there. So like a locksmithing class, I would like to get the guys more involved with that. The person that we had isn't with us anymore, but yeah, he could do the pinning on the keys and set things up. And I kind of really miss having that ability in a person to take care of those things. So, but yeah, we look at them, I guess, we'll bring them up and share them as we find them and look for approval where we can.
I think that in itself would save a lot of money, having somebody that can do locksmithing.
It does.
And it'd be good to.
Yeah, I thought you guys did the locks.
Well, we can work on them. We fix some of them we can't. It's a patented system, so you can't just, go to Ace Hardware.
And then the VA on Wheeler, have you guys done the key change on that yet?
I don't think so.
No, I need to get some cores and go up there. The simplest thing, I guess I needed to talk to them is find out who the individual was and just get the key back. Or is he not responding, I guess?
I honestly have no idea.
Yeah, so I need to do a little more deeper dive into that and figure out if we can get the key back, it makes life a whole bunch easier.
Because he can't.
Kevin, if you could come upstairs, I'll talk to you about that because I don't think we're going to get the keys back.
Yeah, because he can't just go and duplicate the key. It's
Right.
no locksmith will do it. So. Yeah. But, all right.
Your time is up.
Yeah.
We have to do the TS update now.
All right.
But I do have questions still, so. We're going to begin the tech services update now. And welcome Joe Carter. Thanks, Ken.
You bet. You guys have a great day.
I'll see you later. And if you can, if you want to get those questions in an email or just have a separate one-on-one or something, so.
Hey, I worked hard on getting my questions together to fill our time, and you filled an extra 15.
I'm sorry. All right. Well, I'll be quicker with Joe then. I'll truncate this, right? So, but I'm just again kind of start out with a little spiel about Joe and the group up there, and I'll let him take over and give you more time for questions. So Spiceworks tickets continue to mount, be prioritized. We've spent a lot of time in capital funding, a lot of it due to Joe's genius and vision to build a real robust data center, overall network and peripheral support services. We work really well with numerous industry partners to ensure that all of the employees of Grant County, the courts, and all of the public services we are offered by the numerous departments do so without interruption. We do have video and audio issues from time to time, but we're not alone. Yesterday, as an example, I was surprised. I watched Spokane County couldn't figure out how to come out of an executive session on Zoom. You couldn't hear the people testifying, and the cameras were jumpy and slow to move to the speaker. It was pretty bad, and they did a really bad job of showcasing their employees as they gave departmental updates. They had their parks director on there, and it was they had to squeeze in right next to each other and get on the camera and give this update, and it's like, what are they doing? The DS in the background was like, I took a snapshot of it. I want to show it to Barb. I'm like, this is what we need. But the way they operated was pretty bad. It made me feel like, okay, we are so much better than I thought we were. So it's, anyway, we'll continue to try and make that. We just need patience from everybody as we try and make it perfect, right? Because that's what we want to do.
I think that this new system's pretty easy.
Yeah.
The cameras, how they are, is pretty good.
Yeah, you can see the whole room.
Yeah. Well, and we'll continue to work on these issues, try and make it better. And we continue to tweak security settings and limit employees opportunities to click on links we don't want them to click on. It's our biggest fear, right, is ransomware, something like what happened at AOC. So sometimes, we tweak these settings and all of a sudden emails that don't typically go to junk. You'll get the little Barracuda emails and you have to go in there and actually deliver it and tell it it's safe. But we're trying to limit that exposure, and it's critical that we do that. I'm going to stop talking. I'll let Joe talk to you about the department, how it's set up, and then if you have questions, I'll just go for it.
You guys have any particular interest, questions, anything you want to know right up hand? Just curious.
Help desk ticket counts, where they're kind of sitting.
In the 10,000s. So We go through bajillions of tickets. We've gotten pretty good at making people fill out tickets to document the work that gets done so that fewer things fall through the cracks. People email us directly, and we all get email that we all miss and ignore and stuff. So if it's in Spiceworks, then it's in the display that we use. We use a web interface on our end of Spiceworks, whereas most people use email on the user end. So that way they're reminding us that there's still open tickets, and some tickets get resolved within 5 minutes, and some tickets take weeks to get done because there's multiple steps, multiple things that need to be accomplished to fulfill that ticket, like ordering new hardware or waiting for an event to transpire, or waiting on a vendor or something like that. So it's a huge mixed bag. I mean, all that stuff's in there. So I mean,
what differentiates at what level? And this is a question I probably knew at some point. Is like me getting one of these through our own department, Amazon, whatever. But then you don't know you need to get this back, right? The county doesn't know that. At what level do we need to be cognizant of that?
that's your decision. Really it is. I mean, we track assets like the laptop, right?
Yeah.
It's got a tag number on it. That's what we know is a person has in custody. So that's what we're going to ask for back. If they're blessed with one of these little devices, we get those back. Tablets, we get those back. Little things like that, we don't keep track of.
It's kind of a consumable item.
Yeah.
They have failure rates, they get lost, they get pinched. People close their laptop on a pencil, right? So you don't necessarily know.
We don't just hand them out willy-nilly. I mean, it's like, what do you need that for? We'll ask, it's like, oh, I need it for this. Okay, that makes sense, So we don't just blindly, order stuff for people. We're probably more strict about it than maybe departments are. If a department orders it, we'll never know.
So a lot of times somebody orders something and then they'll ask the question and they'll have a better solution.
Yeah.
And back to that ticket count real quick before we get too far, the ticket count's really important for me because I look at those ticket counts and what's being worked on. I use that to help me justify manpower or hardware costs or, software.
I ask that based on at what point should we be concerned of ticket levels, as far as adding people or lower level or,
We feels like right now we're keeping up pretty well. We're doing all right. So, it's been able to free up certain staff to take on more project level, type things. Specifically Evan, he's a specialist now. So, he needs to be helping Keith more directly with some of the projects that Keith works on. And we actually have dubbed Evan the Ticket Master. We actually got him a little plaque and everything, like Ticketmaster, It's in that same font even, because he crushes it on tickets. He's a closer. So when we got additional staff that allowed him to step away from doing as much of that, but him and Seth are always competing over who's got the most tickets cleared. So
that's a good thing.
It's a really cool environment because we have people who are like, no, I'm better at it. I got more. My numbers. It's like those are rookie numbers. You got to pump those numbers up, So it's a really good culture up there in that regard. So, but yeah, we're doing okay, and we're getting more weird tasks. We've received a ton of public records requests that really only we can fulfill because of the mediums that need to get the records pulled from. So Jabber or Teams, we're kind of the entity that does that. So Luke has been really good at those lately. I actually have him kind of paired with Emily, doing a lot of that directly. So when those come in, they just get handled. He's just figured out how to write the SQL scripts for pulling a lot of that stuff and gets them to her really quick so that she can close out her public records request, and then it's no longer anybody's problem. So
some of those are ridiculously large.
They're stupid, and we're just and he doesn't even ask anymore. He's like, "Why are we pulling this for?" Because we have to. So it is what it is. But they have a really good working relationship. So we try to establish things like that. So, but that was one place he seemed to shine real quick and was like, hey, tag, you're it. So, you know, if you succeed in our department, you get stuck doing something, so.
You want to talk at all about the ascension between hardware, software, application support network?
Yeah, so there's two basic tiers in the department. Well, there's a starting layer. So we have the help desk, which is the bullpen primarily. And that's where you basically do whatever shows up in front of you to the best of your ability, right? And then we have two tiers above that, which are systems and systems administration and network administration. Systems would be your applications, you know, and the AV stuff. So your Polycoms, your Laserfish, the accounting systems, all the software that we use. And then you've got the network side of house, which is your switches and routers and all of the locations where we have interconnectivity and phones, communications, things like that. So in the department, I came up through the network side of stuff. So you have myself, Ricky, and John are kind of the core network people for the department. And then it seems like everyone else is more systems oriented, application oriented, which is fine because
They'll show an affinity as they're,
yeah,
you know.
we're not light in network. I know that. So I tend to know a lot of things, so I get asked a lot of questions, and I encourage the guys to be in the applications that the network people use so that they can be familiar with them, and they'll take link runners and go check ports and stuff, and they can provision things for themselves, and they're getting better at it, which is good. You know, it just makes them a more rounded, you know, IT person, technician, whatnot. So, and then, you know, everyone has to deal with an application thing at some layer level at some point. I kind of tend to be versed well enough in all the fields to be of assistance to the people in the department. At home, I have my own virtualized environment. I have my own domain. So I take care of the Microsoft infrastructure side. I can do virtualization, network, all that stuff. So that makes it to where when they say, hey, I need this thing, I can understand what they need, why they need it. And then if it's like super spendy, I was like, hey, Tom, we need this for this reason. He's like, okay. And then we come and talk to you. It goes on consent and then we get it, right? But
You hope.
well, you hope. No, I'm really good about, you know, managing money. So try
You got
not
a good
to.
track record.
I got a good track record. I pride myself on that. So I like to be at the end of the year and be like, hey, I had money left over. Look at that. Look at that. That's all. Yeah. So, but yeah. So yeah, those are kind of the two major paths through there. I have thought, and Tom and I have talked in the past about maybe expanding that out into other areas. We've talked about maybe purchasing or asset management type stuff.
Yeah.
We've also talked a little bit about protect and cameras being more targeted because we're getting so many now.
Yeah.
So, and it's not something that's like a hot button topic, but we have addressed it.
It continues to mushroom, right?
Yeah.
As the county grows, as
Yeah.
our, you know, responsibilities grow. And
Yeah.
interestingly, you know, there's a lot of similar, even though the work is extremely different from an operational standpoint, the way you go about the work between facilities and TS is very similar. So it's kind of an easy thing to understand, and it's.
And right now, some of those responsibilities are, even though they're becoming more clearly defined, they're part of a tier, right? So Ricky does the cameras mostly. I help Ricky with cameras a lot. So that's kind of network side of house. And then your asset management and ordering of things, that's more systems kind of oriented. So, but Jeremy orders like a ton of network gear too. So he ordered all the cameras that we recently got. So he's kind of our quartermaster and is very acutely aware of where we get things and how to acquire them quickly and affordably and
Quartermaster being our inventory control program.
yeah. So he's got good relationships with all of our vendors and everything. So that's very, very key person in the department in that regard for that aspect. And like I said, Ricky, he's like the camera dude. I mean, he's been at the fairgrounds and will be at the fairgrounds for a few more months installing the new cameras out there.
A lot.
He's doing indoor work where he can't be outside because of the weather right now. And he's getting stuff prepped, like getting cables run. And he's working with Chris on making sure that, you know, they that Chris has power available in front of him as they're, moving forward, so.
We just got the schedule from Musco to June.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, we're gonna be throwing some cameras up on those for Southfield, and we're getting some of the other areas in the north end of the fairgrounds figured out. And gonna probably stab a few cameras in around the rodeo grounds as well, so, we got a space over there where Ricky's working out of, and he's, like this morning, well, I was talking with Tom, Ricky's calling me, checking in, like, okay, this is what I'm doing today, so.
It's perfect. We looked at those projects because, Musco Lighting, when they do that lighting out there, we're gonna have open trenches all over the place, and it's a perfect time for him to jump out there and drop fiber in the ground, right? Even if we don't have anything particular to go to, get that infrastructure in there so that in the
Get the
future.
conduit in place, and that way we can do pulls later if we need to, so. In this last year, we worked really closely with the Rodeo Association, making sure that they had good coverage, and they were very happy with what we had provided, and we're working on trying to solidify some of those locations. One we call the Rodeo Gate, it's down south of Green Gate, a few yards, 100 yards or so. Doesn't have power there yet, but hopefully we can get permanent power, so all the stuff that we put in last fall can be online all the time. We can keep it up to date. That's another thing about our network is we can see all the devices everywhere at all times. And we like to make sure that the network is on so that we can status it and make sure that devices are updated so that they don't get, hacked, things like that. So firmware is important. That's kind of one of my peripheral nighttime duties, while everything's offline and no one's working.
Effort.
Yeah, so I'll play the firmware dude till the wee hours in the morning. So, but I'm a night owl, so I like that. So that's kind of the department in general. Keith is our systems administrator. He's the top of that tier. John is our network administrator, cybersecurity administrator. He's the top of that tier. Ricky's a network support specialist, works with John and myself. And then Evan is a system support specialist, works really closely with Keith. And then as we see, the way I like to do leadership and the way I like to run the guys in the department is I don't look at a person that's negative and think that I got to pound them on how to make their negative better. I look at their positives and see, okay, what do you shine at the most? And then we'll put that person in that spot to amplify what they're good at. And then hopefully we can pick up where they lack with someone else that has a positive spot. So it's more positive driven than the negative driven. You get better feedback out of everybody. Everybody's more positive. They feel more accomplished. They feel like they did a thing, so then they're happier about it, and then they want to continue and
provide training opportunities. It's unique in IT. If you're not constantly training, it's passing you by.
Yeah.
So I think this week, even though we already have some of it, like we were talking yesterday in Office 365, the Copilot, Microsoft's AI, started having conversations about AI training and how does the county want to look at AI?
Yeah.
So that.
Well, if we don't, we're gonna get left behind.
Right. So how do we implement that? What do we do? What does it look like? What do we want it to look like?
Right. We got ourselves Chat GPT licenses for the department, so we can get into it and utilize it and get used to how it works because it's the back end of Copilot. I tried to log into Copilot again today, and it's like coming soon. So for your business side of stuff that's non-government, Copilot's been live for a few months now. They're still working on getting Copilot set for government because we're what's considered a government tenant in Microsoft, GCC tenant. Things come to us delayed than they do the commercial industrial market, commercial market. So at least our stuff's in Quincy, so they're a GCC high tenant. So that's why all of our stuff's really fast as far as office goes. But yeah. I don't know. What else you guys want to know? I mean, we got all sorts of cool stuff up there. It's just an endless smorgasbord of nerddom. So
we even got a 3D printer.
We got a 3D printer, which is cool because we get these network devices that are new, and we're like, they don't have mounting points on them anywhere. We're like, this has got to go on a wall. So we go into a place that catalogs just people go out and create print files, and we're like, oh, that one will work. So we actually had Luke modify, because he's got 3D printers at home, and so does Keith. I hire people who are nerdy outside of work. And so they were like, oh yeah, so they changed the file a little bit to make it easier to mount some stuff. And so a brand new device that's been on the market for like a couple months, we now have a way to like install it and put it on a wall or rack mount it or whatever. So
It costs pennies.
yeah, it was like super, super awesome that we got that. I was like, we talked about it for a long time and we finally pulled the trigger and we've used the heck out of it. So we tell Kevin, it's like, hey, you need anything. He's like, I will keep that in mind. So,
So now I need to talk to Keith about how to set up my 3D printer.
Yeah. I was gonna reply to your Facebook thing, and I thought I better not say, oh, talk to the county, so, but,
yeah, we'll totally nerd out on that stuff. So you want to come up and visit, you're more than welcome. So.
He lives just down the street from me, so.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, things that are going on, Tom pointed out, tickets, always tickets. There's never an end to tickets. That's what the bullpen does. Those guys are doing great. Getting quads started for this year. We pretty much were caught up from last year, so we're not on as heavy a push now. But Alex has been like this deployment god. He's really good about making those appointments, keeping those appointments, all throughout the county. So you'll get stuff, throw it in a rig, take off, go deploy a system, and you'll be back. So gotten a lot of positive feedback from different departments, emails to me like, Alex is great. Like, so Alex, you're great. So definitely want to make sure that they know that they're, being appreciated. Tyler Technologies on multiple fronts. So the accounting system,
had a good meeting this morning.
that's its own bag of donuts. And then we've got the Tyler MDR, which is the managed detection and response side of things. We have all of our network devices and some of our not network devices set to send their logs to a syslog server that is a Tyler syslog server, and then they actively look at those logs 24/7 and look for weirdness. And they literally have human beings looking at screens, watching that stuff. And when they see something that scares them, we get a phone call and an email and hello, we're trying to get a hold of you. And yeah, it does really good. So yeah. So that part's been really awesome. And then also things we're working on for training for the county. We're working on a pen test coming up, so we're working on getting the catalog set for that to deploy in the next few months. There's a whole litany of little side things that they do with us for helping with policy, continuity of operations type stuff, how to organize applications and things so that we know, what comes on in what order if things go down. So it's helped make us more organized in what we do. So
You know what pen testing is?
penetration tests.
They're gonna try and hack our network.
Yeah, we set certain parameters. So, and then we wait, and then they give us a report that says, okay, so we did this and this is what we found. The last time that they did that, we got a very, very favorable score. They had like less than 10 items that they were concerned with. And when we sat down to meet with them before the end of the meeting, 5 of those things were resolved. And then the other 4 or 6 or whatever it was, took us a few days, but those were like the not as big a deal. But the ones that were low hanging fruit that were a little higher priority were like, oh yeah, we don't need that anymore. Boom, and just shut it off. So
Should instill confidence in the security of the network.
yeah, they were impressed. They were like, you guys are actually pretty locked down. We're like, thank you. So it's been a really good working with them because we've been doing things for a long time, kind of in the dark. And I don't mean that in a bad way. We operate best practices as best as we can, right? But we've never gotten a lot of feedback. So working with Tyler, they're like, no, you guys are like doing great. So when we did the email phishing test last year, we had like a real low return rate on people that actually clicked the link. They figured for the size of our county, we would be like 20 to 30% total. It was like, what, less than 3%?
Yeah.
So it was a super low number, and they were super impressed with that. So
those emails, when I do get a spam email,
Mhm.
do you prefer that we delete them, or do you?
if you can clearly identify that it's garbage, just delete it. Yeah, I mean, So to give you a rough number, 85% of all email that comes to Grant County is caught by Barracuda or spam filter. It doesn't ever make it to the interior of the anything. Whatever you see left is the 15% of good mail and the stuff that it just doesn't quite get. So, and it does seem like a big number sometimes, but it is magnitudes of order higher of stuff that it
It
catches.
was funny. How long was he here? I think you were here 3 days.
Yeah,
When
and-
I got an email from you, saying you wanted me to do something.
We recognize the format. We're like,
Yeah, I was
oh,
like,
that's a Danny email.
how do they even know he's here?
They targeted previous Commissioner Stone in the same exact way. They just swapped your names out. It was like, oh, there's another one. So, and we've gotten really good upstairs about responding to those. There are a few people who have a given task that they perform when that occurs. And it's just like, you hear us hollering through the space. We're like, on it, on it, on it. It's like, okay, they're gone. And like, the emails go out, don't look for, you see this, get rid of it. And so we hyper responsive about that because I don't want to have to come in here and explain why we've been ransomed. But we have a rubric, so then I get to come in and go, but rubric recovered it, so don't worry about it. So.
Well, we did it again. We could do this all day.
I see. I know.
Yeah, if there's anything specific you guys need to know or want to know about, just let Tom or I know, and we'll get you the information if we don't have it readily available. And you guys want to come up, you're always welcome. So.
Yeah, I know where you're at.
Okay, we will go into recess until 1 p.m.
Wait.
Need me to make that motion?
Yes, sir.
Make a motion that we move forward with the DARS process.
I will second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes for HR to continue with motion forward.
Thank you. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, we're out.
Okay, so I have several positions that were heard yesterday, Public Works. I did put them on the agenda. Wasn't sure if you wanted to hear them again today and make decisions on them today. The department has not given us the data about budget. Jonathan was up there this morning and was going to collect that information. I don't know if Jairo is not available today or wasn't available to him, but I don't have it yet. So it is up to you whether you want me to hold until we have that.
I sent an email asking them and they well, Andy's out. He's on vacation.
Correct.
I did not, so I got a reply from Dave Brand, but he did not tag Jairo, which I thought was odd.
Okay.
Anyways, he said follow the org chart, and that would be the fund associated with the person, but it wasn't all detailed. For me, I think I'm okay with the operations manager position for the road division.
Okay.
And I'm good with the foreman structure they're planning to go to, but it's not their current structure. So I don't understand how that takes place because they do have road district supervisors still until they don't.
Until they don't.
But they do have them. So
yes.
I guess I'm kind of confused a little bit on
So,
that.
so as the supervisors move on, whether it's through retirement or going elsewhere, then they won't backfill those supervisor positions. But I think that the intent is to reband now because of the compression that the HEO program itself created. And the foremen there are HEO fives, I believe, who are making more than the foreman.
Okay. So how does that then go up? I mean, does everyone in Public Works admin then get an increase?
No,
Okay.
they have not proposed that.
Well, yes,
So-
but when you compress, as we see every time.
I think once we do, let me pull that one. I think when they do the foreman, and it will cause a little bit of compression between foremen and the supervisors, but they're not asking for supervisors any change to that. So I think at this point that would stay status quo. The supervisors are a 15. So moving foremen to a 14, supervisors remain at a 15.
And operation manager was to a 17.
Operation manager.
I think that's what maybe that might have been solid waste though.
Operations manager, they're requesting a band 20. Which I believe is that of the deputy director.
Which we're not going to have anymore.
Which we're not going to have.
Essentially this position.
Correct.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
My only concerns, obviously, the Public Works is they like play musical positions.
Yeah. And I haven't even seen that org chart that was brought forward yesterday, so. And it's an org chart in the making, it's not a finalized, but I do believe it is the current director's vision of where he's wanting to go with the department.
Yeah, it was tough because even the one that we had signed that day, it was tough because that wasn't even implemented when we signed it.
Right.
Like, there's positions on this that we still don't have. So
yes.
When we signed that, we did it in error.
Yes, correct. So please don't sign organizational charts unless HR is said.
In the room, pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we can say, yes, we have a plan, there is a plan in place for all of these positions.
This was part of the whole reason for creating a position review team. Decisions like that, where basically they add these positions, you sign it, and now they can add the positions without any planning. So, just background.
Yeah.
But I'll give you this so that you have their future. As far as solid waste goes, I mean, I support the idea and what they're doing, but I definitely need to understand top to bottom, like positions work before I would say, yeah, the supervisor or the manager doesn't have time to take the water samples. I mean, right now it's kind of hard to see, what is that, 2 new positions added? So 4 positions this year to solid waste.
Yeah, so it would be one new foreman position, the operations manager for solid waste. That's just a
Yeah, supervisor.
Yep. And then the environmental tech position, I think that one's the one I don't understand the most of. Is that position, they say it's gonna save $100,000.
No, it's going to
Replace it, but into that.
And then are you still going to need to use them to?
Yes, they have to use them.
But use them out of the 99 you're saving.
Right, what is that saving, that full savings? And I think that when we first talked about that position in PMRT, that was a question Mandy asked is, what is the full savings to this? Is there a full savings? And I don't know that we've really ever received that either, so.
Actually, you gotta pay a full-time employee to do the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus their.
Plus that third-party oversight,
And
they
we're
have
not
to have by
running
law.
the filtration machine currently. And I think the plan is that this position would be, but how much time is it gonna take them to monitor the machine and with another foreman and and the manager, they don't have time to do water samples and manage the machine. It'd just be nice to understand the thinking. I don't think John was in a position to know what a solid waste plan is.
So would it be, what I hear you saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I hear you saying is that you need more information from maybe Andy and Jason from out
Yeah.
at the landfill?
Yeah.
Okay.
For me.
Okay.
You the same?
No, I agree 100%. It'd be nice to know exactly what they're gonna be doing.
And then did you also want more information from the department about the foreman, the road district foreman? Or,
That one, like I said, it's just weird. The transition, being in place before the transition of supervisors, just, I don't know, strange, but. The road operations and maintenance manager, I mean, that is already taking place. He's already doing that job function.
Right.
So,
And I'd be curious what that plan looks like. Yes, people are aging out, but by implementing this position today, what does that plan look like? What are you going to do with that open FTE until that person retires?
well, they'll continue to work as the supervisor.
And then just not fill the FTE yet?
Yes, correct. Because the foremen will still be foremen, just as the supervisors age out, they won't backfill, and the foreman will take the duties of
Oh, I see.
kind of that supervisory piece of it. And then they will report to,
How much will this affect Andy if we wait till he gets back next week? Critical, is it?
I don't think that it's gonna affect him at all if we wait till next week.
I don't know, I think I'd like to know more from Andy as far as what he's got going on, because he could explain it better than anybody.
yeah, Andy and Jason, like you said, I would like that.
So in all positions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you had any applicants for the maintenance positions at the fairgrounds and the courthouse?
Have you looked?
Sorry, that just came to my mind.
I have not looked.
The maintenance, that groundskeeper?
Well, Tom told us that he had 2 maintenance 4s open.
There was there's a maintenance 3 and a maintenance 4. The maintenance 3 is for public works, maintenance 4 is the backfill maintenance here at the courthouse, and then there's a groundskeeper out at the fairgrounds. So we've got 2 interviews actually in 39 minutes. Is one interview of 2 today for the maintenance 3 position, and then we have a maintenance 4 candidate tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So both of those have been, we shifted to open to fill on both of those positions because they're looking for somebody that can do general maintenance work, but they want somebody that's got journeyman level experience, either in carpentry or electrical work, plumbing, something. And it is really difficult to attract those people when an electrician, let's say, I'm sure both of you already know this, but can make $50 an hour plus overtime in the private sector. So it's been really challenging to fill. But so because of that, we shifted to open to fill.
We haven't had any applications for at the fairgrounds or?
We've got 10 as of this morning, but that one's posted through Valentine's Day. And that was by design. No, I'm kidding. Every candidate gets a rose. No, there's 10 so far. We just did that one, I think, a week ago. So we're on pace for about 25 to 30 candidates. I think that one should be easier to fill. The maintenance 3 and 4 have been more challenging.
Wow.
So yesterday, I'll move on to item number 3. FSLA brought it up a little bit yesterday during the PMRT discussion. Band 12, 13, and 13A, those three bands within our pay structure fall within, what's the word I'm looking for? Thank you, the salary threshold for Washington State. So is there any opposition to us moving forward and
No, we need to correct that.
making those all non-exempt positions, and in those positions will be non-exempt, which then leads us to item number 4, which is the request by district court to put that position to a higher step within band 12, but that really doesn't solve the county's problem with having to follow state guidelines. That step that they're wanting to place the position at is just over the threshold, but next year we'll be having the same conversation.
I think for me, next year having the same conversation would be best because their funding source may change in that time.
Okay. The consultant, Jonathan, was going to look at overtime versus if she is moved to a higher band. Band 14 would be could be a non-exempt or an exempt band. So where she would be placed on that, and given the estimated hours of overtime, what is more cost effective? But if we make band 12 non-exempt, then she's not going to fall within that non-exempt category. Or she wouldn't fall within the exempt category, sorry. Because they're wanting to keep that position an exempt position, but we're asking, payroll is asking that those 3 bands be non-exempt. Because otherwise you're tracking each position along that spectrum of the band. Does that make sense? So I think it's step 6 and 7 in band 12 would fall above the threshold. And in band 13, I think it's 6. And then 13A also falls in there with like halfway through. So just as a clean process for Felicity to be able to move all of those non-exempt. But then that doesn't help district court in not overspending.
And I think that needs to be like more than, I don't know, needs to be a bigger conversation of our stance on the exempt. I mean, just raising and then next year doesn't it go up like $6,000? Then it goes up like 10. It just keeps going up.
It
Next
does.
year is managed levy, it's 2027 where it's.
Is that the big one?
That's the big one.
That's when they move to multiple of 3.
It goes to like 90 or
It's
something
3
thousand.
times minimum wage, and I don't know what minimum wage is gonna be at in 2027, so just the multiple alone kicks it up to like 92.
Yeah. So.
Oh, thank you.
Was I close?
So
I think that
this year is 77.9. Next year is 79.9. And then January 1 is 91. 91.05.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that if a position, I mean, we have really 2 separate items here. They affect each other, but.
you kind of have 3.
True.
Because there's also the flexibility portion of you're not even available during the business hours. So your overtime's taking place during business hours if you were to go to hourly on this position. Not on all of them, but right. On some of them. It's hard to think you're getting overtime during business hours for me.
Mm-hmm.
But
right.
Desiree did want me to inform the board that she had the PA's office review this position and the job description, and the PA's office has no issue with it remaining exempt.
I don't know, so,
Yeah.
okay, that's cool.
And I provided Barb with those details, so.
I mean, well played, Desiree, if you're rewatching this.
So item 3, I guess that's the first thing is, are you okay with us moving forward with those 3 bands being non-exempt?
I mean, I would ask for your HR's recommendation, and I would support your recommendation, but I would like the understanding that, you know, in 2027, I don't want to see a bunch of $91,000 mid-level people. Nothing against the positions, but good, you're not gonna be able to sustain it.
And I would remind the board that the FLSA exemption allows for employers to not pay overtime, or they have to meet 3 standards. And otherwise, all positions technically should be non-exempt, except for that exemption, right? And so in theory, Decorah could be an hourly person. But it doesn't make financial sense to the board to do that, because we looked at Decorah's overtime in the last year, and she's worked 290 hours of overtime in the last year. Times her rate at time and a half is extremely expensive. So there are going to be some positions that it's to the financial advantage of the board to keep exempt. But to your point, there are some that if they're on average working no more than 40 hours a week, doesn't make financial sense to raise their salary when they're not producing any overtime. And I think that's a conversation that HR can help the board with data, so that we're making a data-based decision based on positions and the workload.
I would support the recommendation of HR.
For the FLSA?
Yes. Yeah, that's the face I like to see.
Personally, I would love it to be non-exempt. Just make it easy, make it clean.
Those 3 bands.
Those 3 bands are non-exempt. Overtime is at the discretion of the department head anyway. I can't just arbitrarily work overtime. Decorah, if I'm hourly, has to
How
approve
many
that.
positions does this impact?
1 at this point.
Oh,
Well,
really?
we have, Renew has several therapists that fall within band 13A that you're addressing with the department and with the union. So, but at this point, it's really will impact district court and their request.
The other positions that fall in those bands are moving to non-exempt.
Yeah. And I think when we could do the salary study, the third-party salary study, that will hopefully give us a better indication of where positions are going to fall or should fall if they're not appropriately placed now. And then we can work through what that looks like going into 2028 when we have a big spike. And are those positions classified accordingly?
Yeah, we're gonna have to budget for those.
Yeah.
Right.
Cover our salary.
Yeah.
I agree.
And for the record, this isn't on my agenda, but the RFP for for the salary study is up. We are collecting interests, so that was done last week.
Nice.
So thank you for giving me that, Rob, so I could get it moving through.
Yes, thank you to you guys and Tom for getting it posted.
Tom was very helpful in the posting. Appreciate his help. Okay.
That was quick though.
We
It's
have
impressive. You guys are impressive. You got that done fast.
Got it done
It's
fast.
like a 1 year project done in 1 week. Nice work.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
We have interest?
No, but we will. It's posted. I don't have any yet, but it will.
Okay,
Yeah, it's up there and people can.
got it. I was really excited.
I doubt a lot of counties are doing big salary studies right now with the economy slowing down, but we are because we care.
Right. Well, and everybody appreciates that you guys care. Okay. So you are in support as well, Kevin, of the FSLA bans? Okay. Perfect. Oh, Doris.
I don't unlock that.
I know, I thought you unlocked it as well. Which then, now that we've got 3 done, 4 is district court's request. I want to get those numbers for the estimates between what it would be if that position is being paid overtime versus moving that position to a higher band. I know that's not the request of the department, and they're wanting to be mindful of their expenses, which I appreciate very much, and I'm sure taxpayers do as well. But we also want to make sure that if it's a supervisory position, that they're being compensated accordingly.
And then you will bring that back
I
as a
will-
recommendation?
I will bring that back,
Okay.
yes. 2 more items. I have 2 PARs. We have, the first one is from maintenance. Sorry.
Central services. Employee hired for facilities and maintenance, Humberto. He should have been receiving, he's bilingual and is used on a daily basis to help get people who are monolingual to where they need to go. And he's been very successful at that. And that is a retroed amount because that was an oversight. It was an administrative error. So we would like you to sign off on that so we can retro it back from the day that he started, which is 12/16.
He works at the courthouse?
Yeah. Yep.
And he is often
He is
with public
often, yes.
directing people?
Yep.
Which one is he?
He is the groundskeeper that was hired.
I don't often see him.
He was in security.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see him much. but-
No, see him all the time. Or it's Gina, who does not get a stipend for that, but she also does.
Some of my thought process while I was sitting here was that
What? That I should get paid for
The
some
bilingual
you
stipend.
should get a stipend.
C,
I know.
like Dad said. C,
She
C.
does,
I know,
she
I
does.
know.
People come in looking
Me too,
for
me
help,
too.
and she does do that a lot, so we might need to revisit that one. The second part is for Superior Court. It was heard last week for Crystal Burns. Already for you there.
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak Spanish at work because if I don't practice it, it goes away.
But that will be $1 an hour, please, to Rob.
I have to,
$1 an hour to Rob.
for you?
Yeah, for the opportunity to
Oh.
continue keeping
You.
the
So if the
additional language.
if the stipend is $250, I have to relinquish $1 to you
Oh, darn.
before or after taxes?
No. I meant it.
Oh.
Makes our path.
No, but I'm joking. I'm happy to utilize my skills as they're needed
Yes.
without any pay. I'm good.
Maybe subject for discussion at a later time.
I
Last final thing, it's not on the agenda, but I did have a sick leave donation request. I come in, it is from New Hope. I'm waiting to get some more information, medical information, but I would anticipate that I'll be bringing that back next week. So just so you're aware of that. Hi, anything for us?
I'm gonna run through my notes.
Okay.
I am gonna have to come visit you with your, all these steps and bands, and so I can fully understand or get my head wrapped around what you're even talking about.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to walk you through it. It is a little cumbersome. Yeah.
I'm still reading policies, so.
Well, as you read those policies, we would love it if you saw things, as a first-time reader that you think, that doesn't make much sense. Or I think this could be more clear, that you make notes on those, because we are reviewing all the policies.
The one I'm looking at is from 2017, so I'm just trying to figure out if there's one that's been updated or changed.
Probably not. The 2017 is probably the,
Probably the correct one.
yeah.
Decorah recently updated two policies, procurement and
1600, and what was the other one?
It's actually just the general standards for.
This new
employees.
1700.
yes,
Record retention.
that one.
Yeah.
So those are new.
Are travel policies updated?
It is in the compiled policies for update, yeah.
But not in the policy.
It is not on the website. The policy still stands. It's just not on the website.
Yeah, I was just thinking if Kevin's reading them, how many are not on there?
I think it's just 1200, isn't it?
I think so.
Is it waiting for something?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, it's waiting for something.
That's something I can help with.
Possibly. It's just, we're doing the review process, and we will be bringing policies to you, as we had talked about at the end of last year, to getting stakeholders' feedback, things that they would like to see. We want everybody who policies impact to have input, and getting that input, putting it into the policies. And then we'll be sending the policies to commissioners to read, review, make any suggestions as well, and then we'll bring it back for signature. There's been some discussion of a committee, putting a committee together. Not sure if that's how the board wants it to go. Happy to do that. I just think it's important that everybody has an opportunity to provide feedback on our policy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just know in 2020 or 21, when Dan and I were new, we were going through policy. We wanted to change a lot of stuff. Some of it's changed, not all of it. Then little changes that just didn't work.
Yeah.
We tried to make those changes, then it never got updated. So then the idea of hiring a part-time, a project-based policy person to update all policy and go through all the policy with us. And then that was not supported by a few people. So the idea of the policy review team has been going on for 4 years is I guess my point. And probably before that, so.
Yes. So HR is doing the best that we can do with what we have in order to update that policy. And again, we have done our reviews every Friday afternoon. We get together, discuss policy, and and potential changes to the policies that we see. And then once we're through with that, we'll put them in a location, probably on the F drive, somewhere where everybody can go in and look at the policies. All the stakeholders be able to make comments, make suggestions, additions. We will then be notified of those and probably have it in a date, this policy, please review these set of policies by this date and these by this date. That way we can work through them and get them processed and brought back to you for approvals. So, but like all committees, they're a great idea until you try to get people together to do them, and then no one has time. So
Yeah, I understand.
so that's why I thought maybe this way they could participate. Everybody who wanted to participate could participate and be of assistance, get their voice accounted for, and still move it through.
You just give them small tasks.
Yeah.
10, 15 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful. I mean, because there's no excuse for you to take 10 or 15 minutes out of your day to look at it, give us their input.
Yeah. Yep. So for the two of you, if you have anything that you are, like Kevin, if you see anything in the policies, you're reading it and highlight it, shoot us an email. This doesn't make sense. We would like to see something different. We want them to be clear. We don't want them to be as clear as mud. We want them to be clear and concise as possible.
Right.
And some of them are a little vague and a little not so clear. So. Okay.
I'll keep at it.
Okay.
Might take me a little while.
Yeah, no worries.
Definitely not on Mondays or Tuesdays.
Yes. And I haven't been up on the rest of the week. Are you here each day of the week? Okay. So.
Except for tomorrow, Thursday, I'm going to Olympia.
Gotcha. Okay. The risk and safety coordinator will be starting on Monday. There's been some roundabout discussions about placement where he's going to be located and equipment. I spoke with Kirk this morning about it, and I believe I have Kirk's guidance on what he was thinking as the supervisor, and I will assist on his first day. We're gonna do kind of a walkthrough, see where he would like. We've got some options. I think, Rob, you had said you're rarely in your office, having him placed there, or while Kirk is out, he can be placed there. He might like the conference room with Larissa. That's an option. So we'll get him place where he feels the most comfortable.
Will he have a county phone coming in?
He will.
Because he won't have an extension until he's placed, and then a few days later.
Yes, we're going to reach out to him. I think Barbara's going to reach out to him and see if he is an Android or a Apple-based user, and then get him a cell phone order.
Is TS aware of the needs?
They were not as of this morning when I talked to Kirk, but you should be now.
Did Kirk reach out to them, or did you?
Kirk was going to have Barb reach out to them.
Okay, well, I'm gonna send a reminder to Tom, just in case.
Okay.
As a follow-up.
Okay. We will assist with that. And again, last week I said that given the circumstances that we're in now, that I am happy to take him into our team and assist him in any way. I don't think he'll need necessarily a supervisor. He'll be reporting directly to the board, but help him get his county legs. Like, instead of sea legs, they're county legs.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, anything else to do?
No, that's probably something that we have to be better as a team about, of the new devices for new employees and.
Well, yes, I think Tyler was gonna fix all that,
Yeah,
but we're not quite there yet.
darn that Tyler.
Darn Tyler.
Whoever he is.
Whoever, yeah, Tyler the person,
Tyler Munis.
the person.
It'll start January 1st, 2027. So.
But yes,
anything else?
I think, I mean, this is a concern of TS's, of department heads, electeds wait until the day the person starts, and then they're like, wait a second, we didn't know, how are we
Yeah,
supposed
they
to
don't
know?
have computers set up, profile.
Right, so in this case, as we know, the department head or supervisor has been out of commission, so that did not happen when it should have last week, but we will trudge forward and we will have things in place for him the best that we can.
Okay.
And if he needs a laptop in the meantime, the HR office does have a spare laptop that he can use, but I believe that there is a tower in your office. There's not a tower in there. Okay, there's a tower in Barb's office.
Barb's
Old office. There's a docking station there, and down in the conference room with Larissa, there's also everything that he should need there.
Okay,
So we'll get him taken care of.
cool. Anything else for anyone?
Good.
No, nothing, Gina? You sure? Dan? You're good? We'll go into recess until 2 p.m. and we're back with our commissioner meeting. Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, February 4th, 2 p.m. and we are here for our weekly commissioners meeting. I will now call the meeting to order and begin with a forum for public input, 3 minutes per person, 15-minute time limit. Mr. Layers, please come to the podium.
This is an awful big podium, but anyhow, today I'd like to speak towards two agenda items, number 4 and 5, the cannabis ones. As you know, when I was first started about the water issue way back, a year and a half, 2 years ago now, I spoke against it, and I talked to, I believe, Jim Young over at the Development Services before I came here. He explained the nexus for that and what it was all about. So I guess now I need to speak about, if you're not going to shut them down in some way, what's the sense in doing it? When you go through the process, the cannabis board sends you a notice, you say, no, we don't want to do that, we're going to decline it for this reason, send it back, and then their proponent gets to do what they want anyhow.
Yeah, the Liquor Control Board of the state will
Right.
approve them still based on there is no legal crime taking place by the individuals, basically.
So then I would propose that you work through your legislative steering committee or whatever it is, the people you have at the state level to get that changed. I mean, I'm not against growing weed. My wife uses it for pain. So I have to get it somewhere, and that's the legal way to get it. But what I am against is allowing them to grow in residential areas. That's not right. If you're gonna do it, they need to be done legally within the constraints of the separate counties that are licensing them or agreeing to it, or however it works.
I think that's the reason why these two have been denied, is because of their zoning.
Right, that's what he explained. These two specifically were of zoning. And the other, when it started, it was about water. And I think my point still stands that if the state, through the division that controls the water, forget the name. Pardon me?
DOE?
Ecology, yeah, Ecology and USBR, they have suites of lawyers that can handle this. They should be doing it instead of the notice on the counties. So I guess that's what I had to say today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have no other attendees in the audience. We do have one call-in user.
Okay, we have Jim online. Jim, you've been allowed to unmute. Jim, do you have any public comment? Nope.
All right, that will conclude the public comment portion today. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda items 1 through.
No. Just the agenda.
Just the agenda.
Yeah.
That's written.
Yeah.
Okay.
I second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes to approve today's agenda. Do we have any correspondence or emails, letters of support or response that need our attention?
I do not.
No? Okay. Kevin, do you have any items you would like to discuss?
I don't at this time, no.
Okay. The public emails that we got today, Dave Bren has responded to them. So, any roundtable items?
I do not.
I have just a quick thing. We were reviewing the minutes for like that began in January. We're using the new format that is recommended by Megan Greger, the consultant for the lien process. And one of the things that she has in the minutes is the times that meetings are adjourned, specifically like the commissioners' meetings and when you adjourn for the day. And I did look on MRSC, and that is something that is recommended in the minutes. So at the end of the commissioners' meeting and at the end of the day, Rob and Cindy's not here for when. No, you don't need a motion. I just need you to call the time that the meeting ends, just that way we can put it in the minutes.
Oh, like at the end of the day?
Yeah.
At 4:40 or whatever?
Yep.
Just be like, this concludes our day.
And then it was for this meeting also, just, yeah, it's 2 blah blah, and this meeting is adjourned or whatever. If you would be so kind.
Okay. You are sitting here. You could note that time, right?
But sometimes when we're upstairs, we have people at the counter.
But will you hear that?
Yeah.
In the recording, we will.
Okay.
You don't have to do it for every meeting. It's just the commissioners' meeting and the end of the day.
Okay. I remember that. Any items for roundtable?
Yeah, concerning the annexation discussion we talked about with Treasurer last week, I am going to go ahead and forward that letter or that petition for annexation to the city. Because if I don't, the PUD is going to lose its ability to move forward and get permitting because their city's a permitting authority. And currently we are 100% owners of the land, and that makes a difference through that annexation process to help it go quicker. So I need to get that petition to the city.
Any items for roundtable?
No, we talked about the legislative item this morning with the prosecuting attorney's office. I don't think there was anything else I can do that. So, have more discussions about that tomorrow.
Wait, Barb, did you listen in this week so far or no?
My computer upstairs.
Oh yeah, yours was down. Did you listen in?
To this morning's
Just
update?
in general, the last couple days?
Yes.
Okay. Was the structure of meetings, it was good?
Yes.
I'm just wondering if you thought it was better than last week or no, since we do have a new style.
I'm gonna say the structure of it, yes, but it is nice having like everybody's got that general agenda format. So that does seem to help. It is an adjustment when it comes to the minutes because it is pretty fast paced, but
Yeah, that's probably true.
we'll get there.
Any items for roundtable?
I don't have any.
I felt like yesterday I had a lot of days in one day. That's what I felt like. It was much, I mean, I liked it, but it was
a lot.
It was a lot.
My wife asked me how many meetings we had yesterday. I said, I think we had about 10. I started looking, I'm like, make that 18.
I liked it, and I can see the benefit, and you will learn so much faster than we did. But yeah, it was different. Just a lot of information. First time I've had to like take real notes, I think, since maybe my first year here, because the meetings were so slow before. I could just remember it. Now I'm like,
But you're getting older.
I don't think so. But maybe. All right, if there's no further items for roundtable. We do have, where did it go? We do have a walk-on item too for after the consent agenda motion for this one.
Did you have any?
No, I think we're good this week. They were all fairly simple. We did discuss concerns about just a way to know if we're getting our money out of the tourism magazines. Kind of a concern overall, but.
And I made a note for the meeting tomorrow, so I'll bring that up during my clerk's update with the tourism
Yeah,
committee.
it'd just be nice if they do have a QR code or some way they're like tracking that additional traffic either to their website or there's not really a good way to track like from the magazine to tourist in Grant County. But if we could track their using that ad in the magazine to know you're getting a value. If you're only getting 50 people, then you probably don't want to spend $11,000 on an ad. So. Ready?
Already approved it.
I don't know. So for that Washington Visitors Guide, it has the $8,800 invoice and then an $11,000 invoice.
Right there. So
this is current and that's max.
no, so it's two different draft invoices depending on the size of the ad that you.
Oh yeah, one was a third page and one was a half.
So she just has the two drafts because that's what she was going to show tourism for pricing. Yes, but they have to have the commitment to advertise by this Friday. So she wanted to get pre-approval from the commissioners to spend up to 11,000, which is the higher of those two.
Okay, that makes more sense. I just didn't want to make sure what the two invoices.
Right.
So when you make the motion on that, you would say up to 11,000.
Which I think is what's on that consent thing, the consent request.
11, maximum 11,000. Well, the amount not to exceed the amount of 11,000. So I'll make a motion that we accept the request from Cooley Creative to purchase and advertise in the Washington State Visitors Guide up to the amount of 11,000.
We make that motion before we.
You probably could have made it as part of the whole motion.
Yeah, so you will hold that motion for after your 1 through 22 motion, or you can add it into part of that motion, or we can pass it separate because the public didn't have an opportunity to see it at the end. We haven't approved the 1 through 22. So in the first, we'll call the meeting to order, do the open forum, and then you're approving basically today's agenda of like what you're going to work through. So then you do that, and then you go into the approval of the consent agenda items.
Sorry, walk-ons are at the very bottom.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. I misspoke right there. So you'll do it after the whole.
Yeah, so you'll do the consent agenda items 1 through 22. Then you'll do the walk-on items.
So I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items 1 through 22.
I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes to approve consent agenda items 1 through 22 as presented, noting Commissioner Carter is out for the vote.
So do you,
Now you just basically state what you said the last time at the beginning.
okay. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request from Louis Creative to purchase an advertisement in the Washington State Visitors Guide with Sauga City Media, not to exceed the amount of $11,000 from the Tourism Commission.
Nice. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes to approve the walk-on item as presented by Commissioner Burgess, noting Commissioner Carter is out today. Now, we don't have any additional walk-on items, so we will sign the consent agenda items.
Did you?
It's your turn.
Back upstairs.
Was it?
Yeah.
That was it?
Tagged
You were
in,
just
he says
here to
he
listen?
fill out that form.
Yeah.
I just don't
Did you have,
want to get
was
where you-
there an item on there?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're
I have
sending
the-
a bridge that was given to us.
Oh, I honestly.
That's good.
You know, I think for-
Sign it. You know, you know,
Awesome.
so-
Oh.
So we come over here, I always peek.
Why is your chair so low?
I'm buried, so.
That's
buried
so
is good,
short,
buried is
really
busy,
suddenly.
Busy is fast, so week goes by pretty quick.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, that's that too.
Well, that's your, you wanna go first? You want this one? Okay.
Good.
That's your walk-on item. It's the AP badge.
We'll get Luke back into that
Yeah,
racetrack project.
probably will eventually. I think you guys are gonna have a contest.
The
for
commissioners
some
minutes.
streets or something.
Yeah, they brought that up today.
Did they? I told him, I said, you better figure it out, otherwise it's gonna be like going places, you know. I was coming up with all kinds of names in the meeting and they're just laughing.
You stay Felony Flats? That's what they call Spokane.
Yeah. So they said, okay, we'll get on it, so.
Yeah, we made an announcement today.
Yeah, and then I started making jokes, but don't call it electric way.
Special occasion liquor license.
It was funny. Nope.
Like 18th Street.
Nope. Anyway, so I didn't get your, I just saw that you called, so what did you want to chat about?
The tour,
Oh,
jail tour.
okay. Let me, go look at my calendar.
There you go.
Yeah, let me go look at my calendar and probably, are you available tomorrow?
Okay.
Let me go look at my calendar, figure out a time and I'll text you.
So it's approval
of it.
Listen,
And then,
I don't know.
And then you can just meet me out there.
It's,
Yeah.
I feel like every single time there's one of these
We do it
resolutions,
different.
yes.
Yeah, perfect.
But I feel like as long as the actual document says it's denied, then it's
It
fine.
sounds good, thank you.
On the website.
This is another denial.
No. Zach Kennedy, right?
Yeah. Today, morning's meeting. No, I don't think so.
No.
He's independent for us, paid separately.
I see that there, you know, that insurance bill on guns.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be,
Not knowing.
it's not gonna be considered this session.
It's like 100,000.
That came out today.
Our local investment services agreement, Grant County Trust.
Sure.
It's funny, that one on County Road has been in business for a long time. And he passed away, so I sold it. Right. Now it's shut down, I understand.
we need to sign both of these or no?
No. It's the ARPA beneficiary agreement, Grant County Animal Outreach. You don't need to sign. There's just 2 copies because the other person signed their own. The recording surcharge distribution agreement.
You need me to announce what time it is when we finish this meeting
Yes,
and then the end of the day?
yes.
Okay. On the Zoom, does it say what time it is?
No. If I can get this camera like pointed, sometimes you can tell what time it is, sometimes, but sometimes you cannot.
Oh, cool, because here, have one like there and there.
It's another recording fee surcharge distribution agreement.
One of those cameras, so let's see the clock.
Well, it's more a matter of what the camera is focused on. So
Yeah, it's not always on both. I try to have it always on both,
but also if I come down here before you turn the camera on, so like for the recording, I have to pin both camera angles to the main screen. So when you watch the recording, you can see both camera angles. If I don't have them pinned, then it just focuses on whoever is talking. This is a reappointment for the current use advisory committee. And so it'll only show one camera angle. So, I mean, the solution to that is that I'm just 1 minute late for this meeting, which is what I did today. The recommendation, reappointment for the current use advisory committee.
And all these that we're signing are the same that's on the website, correct?
Yes. The only one that is not on the website is that walk-on item. So request from Cooley Creative to purchase an ad with Scenic Washington.
you see that? All of a sudden it was April.
It's a request for signing authority for Rochelle to sign on behalf of Grant County certified folder. You doing good?
Stop dating.
Okay. Reimbursement request from New Hope. Reimbursement request from Community Services Moses Lake.
For a couple turkeys.
Just a couple. Reimbursement request from OIC.
1,800 turkeys.
Just a couple. This is a second reimbursement request for OIC. This is approval of the Handle IT software agreement, juvenile. This is Axon Premier accounts for prosecuting attorney's office, PRA officers. resolution initiating the Drumheller Road project. Resolution rescinding the transfer of the bridge. Out-of-state travel request for renew.
But I was gonna talk to you. Good?
Yes.
All right, the weekly commissioner meeting is ending at 2:25 p.m.
Just like we did last time.
Thank you, sir.
These are different persons.
Good afternoon, it is 3 p.m. and we are here with our prosecuting attorney's office and our treasurer for an anticipated executive session meeting. Do we want to roll right into executive session? How long would you like to start with?
Maybe start with 15 minutes. And
All
then we
right.
can see where
We'll
we're
go
at.
into executive session beginning at 3:01 p.m., coming out at 3:16 p.m. for litigation, RCW 42.30.1101I.
Thank you.
All right.
We are now out of executive session. Do you have any further discussion? Okay, then we will be going into recess until 4 p.m. when we're back for department head review.
You don't really need a par. Did you bring do you have the little sheet you fill out?
Yeah. Good afternoon, it is 4 p.m. and we are here for a department head review. Normally, we have a par because you get.
I don't get a step increase.
Oh, that's true. You're probably topped out, huh? Well,
I'm easy.
sorry about that. All right, we will go into executive session beginning at 4 p.m., coming out at 4:15 p.m. for evaluation RCW 42.30.1101G. Caitlin, we are going to continue executive session for 5 more minutes until 4:20.
It's the timing of it, and
We are now out of executive session.
it's the timing of it and the logistics of it. You know, when you don't have time to plan for personnel moves, right? So it's really hard. So.
Yeah, I wasn't sure
that
after
doesn't
you
seem to be
made
the
those
case.
comments. Then we start wondering. I wonder if we are set up for Blair. So I just sent that email out because turned out we weren't.
Well, and I'm glad you said that because I talked to Joe about that this morning. I'm like, hey, have you heard anything about this?
Yeah.
And he goes, no. And I meant to go and talk to Decorah, and then I got busy. So.
Well, yeah, everybody gets busy.
But it'll be okay. It'll turn out. We'll make sure the guy's got something to operate with.
Computer and a phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one's good.
Oh.
Talked about the paper shredder. You went and saw it?
Yeah, it's too big. It cuts too big. I think we should look at.
We should look at
getting one.
Yeah.
An updated version.
Yeah. And that's a big shredder.
Even if we can get a handy state, or even buy one, I mean, if
Yeah.
it saves us money in the long run, I think it's gonna be worth it.
Yeah, it's got a big old conveyor belt on it. You just drop your piles of paper on it, and it goes.
Already talked about that one, and I'm just checking to make sure there weren't any. got them all throughout the day. Okay,
I'll go make a copy of this.
all right. Anything else for this meeting?
Not for me, thank you very much.
All right. Well, then we will go into recess for today. It is 4:22. Thank you, Caitlin.